Good morning. If everybody could just walk in. There are chairs in the front. Probably you can occupy those. So before the organizers take up the startup of the event, myself, Bobby George, I'm from the industry background. Other speakers, she'll be coming in. She's Dr. Grace. She's from the clinical pharmacy domain from the hospital setup. Really looking forward to have an interactive session with you all because this is what you had come for, right? So I believe from each college, there is a representation of 2 to 3 students. How many? Of 4, 5? Okay. And I can see those with blue tag as faculties. Good, good. So how many colleges in total? How many colleges have represented for this event? Roughly? Can you a bit louder? 20 odd colleges. That's a good number. So before they start off, let me ask you what is your expectation from us? So then probably we can tune our presentation that way. Though we have our own slide deck, we can modify that and try to reach out to you for what you expect from us. That is one way we can do. Or probably we can go through the presentation which we have and reserve some time wherein we can take your questions and give you feedback. So either way, whichever is workable for you, we can do it in that manner. I think the way Dr. Grace has put forward her presentation is her journey, where she finished her PharmD and where she is right now. So that is what she has planned. That's when I spoke to her during the tea break. The way I have put up my presentation is, since this is for the students, so are you aware of the PLI scheme? How many of you are aware of the PLI scheme? Including the faculties. Well, PLI scheme is something which has been started by the government of India. It is called Production Linked Incentive Scheme. So this is to motivate the industry to set up manufacturing units within the country so that there is more of domestic production within rather than we importing a lot of products from outside. During COVID, many of you would have noted there was a lot of shortage of household stuff, there was a lot of shortage of toys, there was shortage of routine items which you all buy, including medicines. The reason was because we are dependent upon many countries, especially countries like China, where we import huge amount of, especially the APIs, which are the active pharmaceutical ingredients. And once an API or a key starting raw material which is required to make an API is stuck, then the entire production chain gets stuck, right? So with that in mind, the government said, let's have a production linked incentive. This was not only for pharma, it was also for the other industries. It was spread across almost 14 sectors. So I have tried to focus on what is the production linked incentive as far as pharma is concerned. And this also came in different tranches. It started with 2020 or the first PLI scheme. Then in 2021, the next production linked incentive, the phase 2 as they call it. And now, if you are all up to, come, sit here. If you're all up to date with respect to the news, then you would have heard for research also, they are now promoting production linked incentive. You heard Dr. Krishna Ella speak about innovation, which is lacking in the country. So to promote innovation is where your research and development needs to get a booster. And that booster shot can come through funding, and that funding will come from the government. So that is what the government is doing. So that is the whole idea of how I have tried to put my thoughts together. And the backdrop of this PLI is the motivation for students like you, because when a company comes up, obviously there will be a requirement of jobs. You need to have workforce to be employed to do that activity. There is manufacturing of API, whether it is manufacturing of the key starting materials, whether it is manufacturing of the medical devices, which is also being done, or whether people who are required to do R&D work. So the entire sector is going to boost the employment, and it's an employment generation for students like you and for people who would like to switch their careers from one company to the other. At the same time, it is also an opportunity for the industry, because they can enhance their productivity, they can enhance their revenue, and they can also reach out to the international markets. Companies which are currently in the domestic market, they will have an opportunity to move abroad by exporting their products. Okay? And it's also an opportunity for the country, because once the revenue stream goes up, your GDP grows up, overall capital expenditure goes up, the capex as we call it, that goes up. So it is going to lead to a higher economy for the country as well. So that is the background on which I'll be speaking, and then we'll have questions either on that, or we'll have questions whatever you have come prepared with to ask. So I'm open to the way you prefer to take. Before we start, I think maybe the organizers may have something to share. I also would like to tell the audience about a book which I've written. I have few copies with me here. This is called, the title is called The Act That Wasn't. It's almost 25 years of my experience which I've tried to put in this book. It covers most of the topics, right from orphan drugs to clinical trials to biologic products to medical devices to fixed dose combinations to reforms for pharmaceutical policy, you name it, whistleblowers, Right to Information Act and stuff. So this gives you a practical handout of what is there, especially when you go for an interview. So in the interview, they will not be asking, especially if you're going for industry. I'm not going to tell what the research related interviews would be, because I've never experienced it. I never wanted to be in research after I did my PhD. But if you go into an industry, the type of questions which will be there will not be your what's Fiddlecraft reaction, or I've even forgotten many of the reactions which you had. They will be asking you practical aspects which the industry faces. And if you're not up to speed with those, then you will have a very difficult time to move to the next level of interview. There are different levels. One is the IQ level, one is group discussions, then you will have technical questions, then you'll have knowledge related questions. So those are the things which will be emphasized upon when you go for an interview. And in interview, you need to be updated. I don't know how many of you read newspapers, especially the pharma related news items. So please make it a habit to do that, because if you come for an interview to an industry, that is what they'll be expecting. And the attitude with which the person approaches or expresses himself or herself is also counted very well. The way you are answering the question, the way you are responding to it, how promptly you are answering, how promptly you are asking them questions, all these things matter. So so we have the other speaker walking in. So let's give a hand, Dr. So maybe the organizers can take it up. I was doing some backfill for you.
Good morning, everyone. So today we are going to the best part of the day, that is interacting with the best from your specific industry. So we'll be having a 2-hour session, 1 hour with each speaker, and we have two distinguished experts here, Dr. Bobby George and Dr. Grace Mary John, and they'll be sharing their thoughts, and they'll be giving you a lot of information in your current sector. And I'll be giving you a brief description about an introduction about the speakers of our day. Our first expert for this section is Dr. Bobby George, as you have already met him. He's a Vice President and Group Head of Regulatory Affairs at Reliance Life Sciences, Mumbai. He did his B.Pharm from Manipal and went on to do his M.Pharm and PhD in Pharmacology in Punjab University. He has also completed his Senior Management Program from IIM Kozhikode. Dr. Bobby has over 25 years of industrial experience. He started his career at Dabur Research Foundation, where he worked for 5 years in their clinical research division on oncology drugs. He then moved out to Reliance Life Sciences and has been associated with them for over 2 decades now. At Reliance, he is responsible for all the regulatory services across pharmaceuticals, biosimilars, blood products, and vaccines in both domestic and export markets. He is a recipient of several awards like IDMA Award, CL Malhotra Award, Jewel of India Award, etc. And he has to his credit 36 publications in both national and international peer-reviewed journals. He has authored 4 book chapters apart from authoring a book on healthcare laws and reforms called The Act That Wasn't. He is also on the editorial board for an international peer-reviewed pharmaceutical journal. Apart from being a writer, he is an avid speaker and has delivered multiple presentations at both national and international forums. On behalf of the organizing committee of the Professional Student Summit, I welcome Dr. Bobby George for this interactive session. Moving forward, I would like to introduce Dr. Grace Mary John. She is the first Indian to pass the American Board Certification of Pharmacy Specialist in Infectious Diseases. The American Board of Pharmacy Specialist has been known for its certification since 1976. This is the gold standard for determining whether a pharmacist is qualified to practice at advanced levels in his or her field of expertise. She is also the Shia Ambassador 2022 representing India. She is a dependable infectious disease clinical specialist and clinical pharmacist with more than 5 years of experience. At present, she is the Assistant Director at Believers Church Medical College Hospital. Her interest in antimicrobial began in college when she wanted to prevent Indian hospitals from prescribing drugs recklessly. During her graduation, she received the Best Outgoing Student Gold Medal from PSG College of Pharmacy. Then, she completed training in infectious diseases and ASP at Christian Medical College, Vellore, a quaternary care hospital and ID center. Throughout her life, she has been passionate about antimicrobial stewardship and has strived to change the prescription practices of our country. She attended Tiffet's Medical Center, Boston, to learn about antimicrobial stewardship. She has undertaken the SIDP certification in antimicrobial stewardship in acute care. On behalf of the organizing committee, I welcome Dr. Grace Mary John to the session. Furthermore, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the faculties and students who have gathered here. So without much delay, let's move on with our first session. I invite Dr. Bobby George for delivering his session.
This laptop can be kept here. While they set it up, even till here it will not come. Yes, so while they're setting it up, let me know how many people are from PharmD. I saw one of you had asked a question also. My daughter also happens to be PharmD. She is working now with Eli Lilly in Bangalore. She finished her PharmD. And Dr. Grace is also a PharmD now. I think she's the second batch? Second batch, yeah. So it's a good field to be in. But in India, currently, I would say the opportunities are a bit lower or the expectations what you may have when you finish your PharmD to get a job in the hospital setting may not be that credible unless and until you're working in few specific hospitals like Tiruvella's, Believers Church, or maybe big hospitals like Apollo, Max, or for that matter Manipal, then JSS. So these are some of the good hospitals where you'll have real good opportunities, where you'll be able to really excel in your career. But unfortunately, in India right now, PharmD as a profession, once it is through, you may not get that good opportunities in a hospital setting. But having said that, you will have uh, opportunities in the industry. So if some of you are in which year of your family? Third year. So still 3 more years to go. Well, so, but by the time you finish, things may change. I'm not being pessimistic, so please excuse me for that. But industry, yes, there are opportunities in clinical, you have in medical, you have in pharmacovigilance, medical writing, then as a CRC in hospital setting. So there are good opportunities as well. But if you plan to go abroad, then yes, then the doors are really open. And others are all from B Farm. Anyone from M Farm? Okay, good. So you are from which division, like which stream in M Farm? All from Sutix, Cognosy, Pharmacology. Be louder, huh? Pharmacy practice, that's good, good, good. So within the M Farm, industrial pharmacy is also something which will be really beneficial if there are students and faculty who would like to make a note, because as I was telling the PLI scheme, the production link incentive, more and more industries are going to set up the units here, not the Indian industries themselves, even the companies outside of India are going to set up the units. So they will need people who would be hands-on as far as manufacturing is concerned. So pharmaceutics is one, industrial pharmacy is also very beneficial. So so can I have this? I can then see the screen. So how do you want it? You want me to just keep addressing your questions, or we go through the slides and then we address your questions? It's up to you. I'll leave it because I'm quite flexible and quite vocal and can be taking your questions as and when it comes. Let me know. Slides first? Okay. And you don't need to take down notes. These slides have been given to the organizers. If need be, they'll mail it to you. I'll do it, don't worry. So the way I've structured this presentation is, I'll be speaking about the in pharma. As I said, for those who had not joined earlier, the PLI scheme has come in two trenches. The PLI 1, which was for the medical devices and the APIs, and then PLI 2, which was largely catering to the pharma. So we'll see that. And then what has been the industry perspective on this schemes which have been launched by the government, and thereafter, what are the upcoming PLI schemes? I told you about the R&D related PLI scheme, which has just come in the news today. And then you have growth opportunities. Growth opportunities include the opportunities for students like you in your career, for the industry, and for the country as such. Well, before we move to the PLI scheme, what we know really great about our country in the pharma sector? Can I have few answers? What is, where do we stand in terms of, say, what's our export revenue, if I ask? I mean, these are the kind of questions which we'll be asking in an interview. So what's the kind of export revenue for pharma industry? 2022. Any takers? I don't have chocolates here, but then you will get some incentive. It is close to around 21, 22 billion US dollars. And what is the domestic revenue? See, you have to be updated. Again, probably this text I'll be repeating like a parrot, but I'm trying to drive the home message that you need to be updated with what is happening. So it is close to 50% each. So it's $21 billion for domestic, around $21 billion for the exports. So 2021 pharma exports totaled almost $24.3 billion. Okay, this is exports. And then if you see the imports, that was almost $6.6 billion. The medical device industry, so we are in fact in Asia the fourth largest medical device importer. So there's huge market as far as medical devices is concerned. Unfortunately, India does not produce that many medical devices. We all started with few medical devices like your syringes, needles. These are also, by the way, medical devices if you are not aware. Okay. So this is what we started when COVID struck us, because we had a lot of shortage of these devices. So, but moving from that stage to a higher stage where we start producing high-end medical devices is something which the government aspires the companies to start with. And we had the highest number of US FDA plants outside of US. So I'm sure many of you would know FDA, the US FDA. So US FDA comes and inspects facilities before they'll be granting an approval for marketing their product. And India is the only country outside of US which has that many approved GMP manufacturing facilities. And within that, if you see the APIs, we manufacture almost 8% of the total API requirement of the world, which is lower than what China does. China is really way ahead of us. But in terms of the vaccines, the WHO pre-qualified APIs are also sourced from India, almost 90% of them. And for vaccines also, as you see, we have, you can probably just shift, Justin, you can probably shift this so that they can see on the backside. So almost 65 to 70% of the WHO vaccine requirement is met by India. So Bharat Biotech is one, Serum Institute is another. So these are the big vaccine players as far as India is concerned. Biologically is another one, right? Biologically, which is a vaccine for COVID? Quick, you don't have that much time. Covaxin, biologically. Corbevax, come on. Okay. Good, you didn't tell that to Krishna Ella. Otherwise, he would be happy that his revenue is doubling with bees vaccine also coming into his portfolio. Well, so there are almost 60,000 different global suppliers of generic medicines with 20% of share. So you can see that's a big number as far as India is concerned. So India is also known as the pharmacy of the world. So it's known for all these very reasons. It's not just because somebody coined pharmacy of the world India, that's why. But we have to even live up to that reputation. How do we live up? We need to be meeting the quality standards. We need to have the compliance levels, which is required as far as GMP is concerned. GMP is just not good manufacturing practices. You need to be updated in terms of what are the current good manufacturing practices. And that gets updated on a routine basis. So unless and until you know what the regulations are, what are the guidelines, what is expected in a different. Now, for example, I was introduced that I'm responsible about domestic and exports for Reliance. So we export to almost 55 to 60 different countries our products. I need to be aware about what are the regulatory requirements in those countries, individual countries, whether it is Turkmenistan or Pakistan or Azerbaijan for that matter. Each may have a different regulatory requirement. And unless and until you know what is the data which you have to put together in your dossier for registering the product, you will not be able to successfully register your product in that country. So it is very important for the pharmacy of the world to be aware about what the expectations are to meet the pharmacy or the pharmaceutical requirements in each country. So that's why it's very pertinent for each one of you to be abreast with the requirements. Now, having said that, let's move to the topic for today, which is the PLI scheme. So I gave you a brief, what is PLI, which is production linked incentive. In a pharma company, if you're working, the PLI can have a different connotation. Anyone who has come as faculty and worked in the industry before? None of you? You have straight away from academics gone into teaching profit. So PLI would also mean what is your progress linked incentive. That is, at the end of the year, performance linked incentive is also a term which is used for PLI. So your promotions, your salary increments are all depend upon how you fare in your PLI. This PLI is different. This is production linked incentive. Okay, this is related to what you are doing as far as manufacturing is concerned. So the objective with which the PLI scheme was brought in was to boost the domestic production. I told you the domestic production has been there, but unless and until you raise the scale and raise the bar to a level wherein we are able to export more, meet the requirements, there are still so many diseases where India is not meeting the requirements. So we have to import those into India. Just because or don't have the necessary technical skills, we don't have the necessary we have to boost domestic production, and this PLI scheme is one. Second is product diversification. So companies are comfortable in manufacturing the products with which they know this is how we'll manufacture it. But there are many other products which companies can end up, say for example, if you have a filling line which is into manufacturing of vials, or you have a filling line which is into pre-filled syringes. So there could be products which you are manufacturing in vials, but the same product could be supplied in PFS, that is pre-filled syringe, to have a better compliance from the patient perspective. Okay, so because PFS, you don't need to go to a hospital to get an injection, you can get it done in-house That means at home as well. So there are many areas where product diversification is required. Then generate more employment. So students like you can really benefit from this because more and more companies set up their units here, more opportunities for people to get employed. And then also reduces the dependence on imports. I told you about China as a country where we had huge dependence. You take the example of other industries also, say microchips, which are used in cars and electronics. So all of them, or rather many of them, were being imported from Vietnam and other countries. Because of COVID, there were a lot of restrictions, and that led to delay in the production of these end items. And it is also going to create, as it's called in the PLI policy, that global champions from India. That means these companies, once they start manufacturing and boost their capacities, they'll be creating so-called champions within country who will then be able to export the products in the other markets. I want everybody to be attentive. So please don't keep looking at your mobiles. I would like strict attention to what I'm saying. And any point in time you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Don't feel shy. That's the first thing which you need to keep in mind when you go for any interviews. Forget the talk which I'm giving. Because as long as you are attentive, you're able to catch what is being said and grasp, that is good. Implementation of the PLI scheme was done by the different ministries. So just like you had the PLI scheme for pharma, you had PLI schemes for agriculture, you have drones, you have for as I told you, you have for semiconductors, you have for electronics, and for each of them, they had assigned project management agency. Just like now ASAP is responsible for professional students upliftment, same way there are agencies which have been assigned by the government of India for ensuring that these PLI schemes in these things will be really going forward. So this whole thing is the mandate of making India Atmanirbhar. So many of you would have heard this term Atmanirbhar. You're able to view the entire screen. So Atmanirbharta comes not just from production, it comes from compliance, it comes from quality, maintenance in all aspects. So what are since none of you have probably read about PLI schemes, let me put up these screenshots. So you have a lot of media reports which have come. So if you keep reading the newspapers, if you keep reading the pharma things which happen, then you will have read about this. It's a game changer. It will enhance quality manufacturing. It's so much of increase in manufacturing. It draws investments up to 2.3 lakh crores. In 14 sectors, pharma is one sector. Medical devices other sector. Other than that, there are other sectors which have. And so much of capex is going to be put in. An incremental revenue addition up to 35 lakh crores. So you can imagine the amount of money which is going to be transferred by the government to the industry to make sure that they start making the products. Right, so what is the first phase of the PLI scheme came up, as you see in the bottom, it was March 2020. That's when the first PLI scheme came. So there were three sectors. One was electronic components, which is not the topic of interest today. The other two were for medical devices. So there were almost 14 applications which came, like different companies who were into medical devices, they applied. But not necessary that all applications gets approved. So only 14 of them got approved. There must be 50 of them who would have applied, but 14 could make through. So why? Because there was stringent criteria by the government before you could be take. Just like you write an exam, not everybody passes, right? There will be some who may fail, some who would pass with flying colors. So 14 of them got approved, applicants in terms of companies. And then 3420, that is 3,422 crores is a committed investment. Same way, there was another PLI scheme which was launched for critical KSMs, which is key starting materials. What are KSMs? When you make an API, before the API, there will be multiple stages, right? So some reactions go up to 10 stages, some may be 3 stages. So raw material which goes into making your API is called the key starting material. And many of the KSMs and APIs we used to import from China. So to reduce the dependency, what the government has said, you start making these KSMs within India itself. We'll give you the money, we'll give you the incentives, you set up the units, get the technology, and then move forward. So drug intermediates. So 51 applications in this got approved, and close to 4,138 crores was the investment which has been committed. That means this much investment definitely the government is going to put in. So that itself is a huge positive for this. The PLI scheme, so this is the PLI scheme 1. See, there were chemical synthesis products, there were fermentation based products, and 41 products. Greenfield. What is greenfield plants? What are greenfield plants? You've heard of brownfield plants, like you're wearing different colors. So that way also fields also have different colors. Green field, brown field. Any difference? Greenfield is something which is just starting, absolutely you're starting from the scratch. Okay? You have to bring it up right from the scratch. Brownfield means you already have some infrastructure, you have some plant, machinery all set up, but it is not customized to your industry which you want to make. So as a greenfield means you will take a piece of land, say 10 acres, and start setting up a manufacturing unit. That's a greenfield. So for greenfield projects is the which was approved. So what was the intention was, it's not that you have an existing company, you use that company and then start additional production in that same company, the facility, but you set up another manufacturing unit which is absolutely started from scratch. So therein, there will be employment in that particular region. For example, now Reliance. We have now invested in another project which is in a place called as Nashik. So our main office is in Mumbai where we have most of the plants. So this Nashik, we have bought 160 acres of land. So that's a greenfield project. And now there we are setting up all the units, whether it's vaccines, whether it's blood products, whether it is biologics, whether it's pharmaceuticals. So when it's a greenfield plant, the effort, investment is also more. So by the same time, you'll also implement the recent technologies and the current technologies. So 10% of incremental sales over 6 years. I won't go into the details about how the investments and the returns will be because probably that is not of much interest for you. But on a broad basis, in a period of 6 years of your investments, you will start getting returns as incentives. Okay, so the period starts from 2021 to 28-29. And the base year for this has been taken as 2019-20. That means base year is from that particular year onwards, they will start looking at your incremental sales. Why did they take 2019-2020? Because that was the year just before the COVID struck. So till that time, all companies had good revenues or whatever manufacturing. So that was used as a base year. Otherwise, if they had used the base year, which was 2020-21, then the production would have been low. Many companies had been shut down. Many companies had asked companies to work from home. So all those deliverables would get impacted. So 50 projects got approved and 33 critical APIs were approved by the government to be manufactured under the scheme. Out of which almost 10 they were fermentation based and 40 chemical synthesis based projects got approved. Karnataka antibiotics to name a few. Okay. Now the next phase of PLI after the first three which I showed you, which was electronics, KSMs, and third was the medical devices. The next phase, which is PLI 2, in all these sectors, which is another 10-12 sectors, out of which pharma was the sector. So pharma has almost 15,000 crores which were outlaid as financial outlay for the PLI 2. And so put together, all these sectors came to almost 1,46,000 crores. Along with that, another 45,000 crores from the PLI 1, which had three sectors. So close to 1,96,000 crores has been the total financial outlay. So let's look into the PLI scheme 2. So in the PLI, are you able to see the screen? So domestic production, incentives, cumulative investments required for PLI 2 over 5 years, total financial outlay 1,500 crores, and resilience from external shocks. That means external shocks in terms of if some COVID or any pandemic strikes, then you don't have that dependence upon other countries. So you will have resilience to against those shocks, and total tenure is for 6 years. So it was notified in March 2021. Same way, there were 278 applications which were received, but only 55 of those got approved. Base year, again, as I mentioned, COVID was taken to 19. First incentive was from this 2020. And total, this is the investments and the sales which are expected. You can see the amount of revenue which is going to get generated from this just by one scheme, how much of money is coming to be as an output over these 6 years. So that's the incremental benefits which the government projects. Same would apply for employment. The number of people who are employed in this will be humongous, and there's an opportunity for people like you to take it up. But provided you are competent, you are skilled, for which you're getting skilled now, and you are up to speed. So for this, the applicants were divided into 3 groups, Group A, Group B, Group C. So they tried to see to it that all kinds of products are covered. At the same time, all different scales of companies in terms of the revenues also. It should not be that the small companies are left out and only the big players will make it. They factored that everybody should make it to that. So Group A was the big players, so wherein you had a gross manufacturing revenue, that is GMR, almost more than 5,000 crores. So here the big guns will be applying. The second was Group B, where they had the gross manufacturing revenue from 500 to 5,000 crores. And the Group C, which was the MSMEs. What is MSMEs? I'm sure you would know that. What is MSMEs? Come on, wake up. Medium, small scale enterprises, no? Micro, small, medium enterprises. So that is MSMEs. That is, in each country, you will have these micro, small, medium enterprises, which are not big players, but at the same time, they'll be generating some amount of revenue, say 50 crores, 100 crores or so. So to support them, because they will not have the kind of infrastructure which you will find in the big companies like Reliance or Biocon or DRL or Bharat Biotech, but they'll be able to generate some revenue in local setup. So to even promote them, the government is trying to say, okay, you can also apply, get this incentive, provided you meet the criteria. Okay, and the total consolidated revenue is taken into account for pharmaceutical goods and in vitro. I'm running through that part because it may not be very relevant for you. And this is how a group company is. If some of you who have a finance background will know what's a group company is. So that is how a group company is. That means a company may have, there may be 2 or 3 different companies, but you will be having one group company and others will be, say, subsidiary of those. And within those companies, only one of them can actually apply for getting the concerned grants. So 25% voting rights and 50% of more as a board of directors. So the broad range of companies got covered. At the same time, the product categories. So they had divided into 3 product categories. Categories 1, Category 2 and Category 3. So Category 1 included all these high-end products like biologics, biopharmaceuticals, biosimilars, patented drugs, gene therapy products. Dr. Lela spoke about this, orphan drugs, pharmaceuticals. The second is the APIs and KSMs which were not covered in the PLI 1. And third was the following: anti-immune, anti-cancer drug, cardiovascular, anti-diabetic, in vitro medical devices. So all these got covered in the Category 3. So depending upon which group you fall in as a group company, you can apply under this respective category, provided you intend to manufacture those. So group-wise slots were made. There were 11 slots given. Now, this is another good thing they did in the policy was they allowed both domestic players as well as foreign players to participate. So foreign companies could also come and set up their manufacturing units here, not just for Indian companies. So that would include more of FDI investments, foreign direct investments would come in. So out of 11 slots, 4 were given to a max for the foreign companies. Rest were left out for the Indian. Same way, Group B, 9 slots were there, maximum 3 foreign companies could apply. And Group C, there were 35 slots, which included, they reserved 20 of those slots for MSMEs, and rest only were for the others. And another 5 slots were left for the in vitro diagnostic devices. So those who want to manufacture these in vitro diagnostic devices, there was a open category for them, 5 slots under which they could apply. So investments, again, this is probably not the forum. I'll not take you through those, but then see what they wanted to make sure was whatever you're investing, one, it should be in your book of records. It should not be something that you just project something and then it is not actually taken into account. So that is all purchases which are made after April 2022 and you have an invoice for that. You cannot just show a fake document and say that, okay, I've invested this much. And all this amount should be capitalized. Unless you capitalize it, it will not be considered. Same way, it is only for new manufacturing plants. It is not for you have an old facility and then you say, okay, this is a facility, you're getting an equipment from some other old facility and installing it here. No, only for new equipments, new machinery, they will be giving you the incentive. Same way, all installation and QC systems will be given. R&D expenditure which you're doing within India, only that will be allowed. Tech transfer, if you pay some charges for getting technology from outside, that you can get reimbursement. Exhibit badges. What are exhibit badges? People from Pharmaceutics. What is exhibit badges? I'm giving a break for my throat in the process. What are exhibit badges? What are exhibit badges? Exhibit badges are when you take a commercial license. Okay, when you're taking a license to manufacture a product for commercial sale. If you could sit upright, please. Oh, the others can't see. Sorry, I didn't realize why you were doing so. So exhibit batches are which you are going to manufacture as process validation batches, and these batches would be put on charge on stability as well. And this data you will generate and show it to the regulators to get the commercial approval. Okay, the exhibit batches, when you're taking a US FDA filing, that could be 1 lakh to more size. That's a batch size. So those exhibit batches data which you have to generate for generating exhibit batches, you can get the incentive. And for any clinical trial you have to do on these products, that also you can get incentive. And for registering the product. Now, people would know how much it costs to register a product. You heard of ANDA, right? Abbreviated New Drug Application. Long way to go. I thought all of you were toppers in your respective colleges and came here. Top 3, cream of cream. ANDA, does it ring a bell? Abbreviated New Drug Application. NDA, New Drug Application. IND, Investigation New Drug Application. What is ANDA used for? What kind of drugs? Generic drugs, yes. So for a generic drug, if you have to register as a product registration, which I put the last bullet point, what is the filing fees? Say in US, ANDA is filed in US. So what is the fees which as a company, say if Reliance has to apply for a generic drug in US, what will the application fees, can you imagine? Any guesses? 2 crores just to apply. Forget the approval. Just to apply, you have to apply a form saying that I want to manufacture, say, paracetamol. Even if it's a paracetamol, you have to pay 2 lakh rupees as fees, just the application fees. So how much money is at stake? So that's why it is very, very critical if you're entering into these developed markets like US, Europe, to be doubly sure that what you are manufacturing, whether you're going to meet their quality standards or not. Otherwise, you'll happily start manufacturing paracetamol in India and then live with it. But if you have to enter into these developed markets, it's a different ball game. So for those charges, they will be giving you. Now again, if it falls in category 1 and 3, it will be considered in category 1. Again, these are not relevant for you, so it is relevant, but I don't want to go into that detail for you. So eligibility for getting the incentive, 1, how much investments you have made, that is factored, and how much of incremental sales from the base year 2019 is there, that is considered. Only then you will be able to get the incentive. So these are the groups A, B, C. You have to make a minimum commitment. So for group A, they have to minimum commitment of 1,000 crores they have to give. Of every 20% increment, they have to make that. So first year, if they do say 200 crores, then next year another 20%, then next year another 20%. And for MSMEs, whatever minimum they decide to commit, that is acceptable. Okay, let's not get into it, but overall, this is the way they have to proceed. And again, this is the way the category is there. So for example, group A decides to invest in the first year 200 crore. Then next year they have to another 200 crore, because then it comes 400 total, 1,000 crores they have to invest. So if you don't meet this criteria, so for your third year you're not investing another 200 crore to make it 600, then you will not get an incentive in that particular year. So it is like a carrot and stick. So unless and until you meet that requirement, both the requirements, the sales as well as the investments, both those have to be met year on year for you to get incentive. Otherwise, the next company which has got the PLI status, they will be ending up eating into your share. Okay, so that is very, very competitive from that perspective. So every company which gets this, they'll make sure that they will meet the commitment of investments, and they'll try to ensure that they get the sales for that particular period. Otherwise, it will not be given. So both criteria need to be met year on a basis to avail the incentive. Financial incentive, let's not go into it, it's more detailed for you. Rate of incentive, so it varies from 10% to 8% to 6%. So that's the rate of incentive for category 1 and 2. Whereas for category 3, it is lower. It's almost half as that of category 1 and 2. And if there's a flexibility of allocating incentive, if some group is not able to assign that. Now, selection criteria and evaluation, this again, how they decide that, okay, 50 companies applied, only 11 have to be selected, on what basis they will select. So they have decided your manufacturing investments in India, 30% weightage, number of ANDAs, we spoke about how many ANDAs, DMFs, what are DMF? Drug master files. What is CEP? CEP? Okay, CEP is like, you have heard of CS? certificate of suitability. That's another name for this. So when you file in Europe for a pharmacopoeia product, it is called a CEP. All right, EDMA, MHRA, these terms I'm sure you know. These are the regulatory agencies in different countries. R&D expenditure is given another weightage. So each of these is given a certain weightage, and based on that, the companies are ranked. Okay, and against that ranking, they will be seeing which company falls where, and the top 11 slots will be given the approval. Now, this is again related to criteria for Group C companies. Now, here if you see for the Group C, which are MSMEs, they have not given weightage for any ANDAs. It is more for approvals from even the local facilities. So, for example, you have a WHO GMP facility, that is also considered. To get a WHO GMP certificate is far easier than getting an ANDA or a European approval. So, that is where they have given more flexibility for the MSME companies. And supportive documentation, it's online, everything is transparent, slot allocated. So these were the companies which got selected from category 1, the big players, 11 players, these were the ones which got approvals right from say Sun Pharma to Amneal. Amneal and Mylan are international companies. Mylan interacted with, and they have got a joint holding with one Indian company, which is that? Any idea? Mylan has partnered with an Indian company into biologics. Which company is that? See, these are the questions which, if I was interviewing, I'll be asking. Biocon. Okay. So, again, mergers, acquisitions, partnerships, deals, litigations. These are all the things which you should be up to date. What is happening in the industry? Which company is filing up Para 4 filing? Para 4 filing, you know, right? That is where the product is approved. There's already a patent, and you're challenging the patent and filing for registration. The patent, I'm not infringing the patent at the same time, I would like to register my product. So there's a huge risk when you file a Para 4. But if you succeed, then you will be able to get the entry into the US market. And US market at the same time is very lucrative. You may end up paying a high fees for applying, but the returns are also equally lucrative. A product which may be, say, 500 rupees here would be 50,000 rupees perhaps there. So because it's a very open market, there is no price control. Which is the agency which has the price control here in India? See, I'm asking you spontaneous questions. So you have to be also spontaneous in answering, provided you know. DPCO, you have heard of DPCO? Drug Price Control Order. So DPCO is the one, and which is the agency for that, which is associated with this, which decides the price. In the last term for that agency. NPPA, National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority. So please, okay. So as of now, this is a category 1. Category 2 had 9 applicants, right from Biocon to Strides, had and category 3 had 35 applicants which got selected, and these are the names which have been listed. So, and close to 15,000 investment crore has been already invested. So, the companies have invested, and they're going to reap the benefits as the 6 years go by year on year. Now moving to the industry's perspective. Okay, so this is what we saw, what the government came up with as a PLI 1 and a PLI 2. But what is the industry perspective? What do they feel about this? So one, for example, our health minister, this is the Indian health minister, Union health minister, says that, okay, we have now local manufacturing of 35 APIs have already started, and then it will make pharma sector more secure to critical drugs. And the PLI 2 scheme has reinforced India as a pharmacy of the world. Okay, and then it will be a footing for global value chain. Amitabh Kant, who is Amitabh Kant? Familiar with this name? You've heard of Niti Aayog? So who was he in Niti Aayog? So please, let's have been more, see, I would say academic reading is required. You have to pass exams, your teachers may not you unless you pass that, right? But at the same time, you should have the practical and the knowledge of what is happening outside of your pure academics. In industry, that's not what counts. You may require basic knowledge, but what counts is how you take that knowledge further and update your skills. Okay. So yeah, I was telling you about the other links with respect to this was one of the requirements which came in business standard, that they have to make it more research linked. And that is what exactly now the new scheme is going to be doing, which is the PLI 3. So overall, it's a very exciting opportunity for all whether it is industry, whether it is the students in terms of employment, whether it's for the country as such, right? There are exciting times ahead because you have to meet this. It's very competitive at the same time, so that's very challenging. So innovation and R&D focus more, which was not there too much as far as PLI was concerned, 1 and 2. But you need to broaden your product base. So whatever product you're manufacturing, you have to broaden it. You'll have more number of products which you need to take it forward. And future price erosion has not been factored, because what will happen is they have factored, okay, this is the kind of revenue we need to generate. But now I'll give examples of a product which is there in the US or Europe. As it's a free market, once an innovator company loses its patent, then the generic players will enter. Moment the generic players enter, the market crashes. It comes down by 50% to 70%. So then you, as a company which is starting from India, you start investing, make this PLI scheme work for you. And by the time you create a generic to enter in that market, there may already be 5 companies in the US or the European market. So the monopoly which was there for the first set of companies which enter into the market will not be there for you. So the price erosion would have already happened. So that's why this price related erosion has not been factored in this PLI scheme. Of course, any scheme which starts up will have some positives, will have some negatives. So that is bound to happen. But nevertheless, this has been an excellent scheme which has been started with the government. Enhanced total. So what is being told is 15,000 crores which was assigned in PLI 2 and another, say, 8,000 crores in PLI 1 is less. We need to have more of investments which should be allowed and extended to more number of applicants. I showed you some 11 applicants in this, category 1, 9 applicants in category 2, and 35 applicants in category 3 was what is allowed. But they have told you should allow more number of companies to participate in this thing. And weightage to emerging markets. As you would have seen the criteria, they had given US, Europe, Germany. No, these were the countries. Germany is, of course, in European Union. You had TGA, Australia, or Japan. The developed nation approvals were considered. They are not considered approvals in emerging markets. So the rest of the world markets, like, say, you have Pakistan, you have Nepal, you have other countries where you could possibly, Latin American countries where you could get approval. So they have told that you should allow banking to be done even with this kind of approvals should also be given. Now, there are 2 upcoming PLI schemes which are coming. The most recent one is going to be on research and development. It's on yesterday's news. So for new chemical entities and new biological products. So absolutely novel molecules which are coming up with, the government is going to give another research funding. It could be 2,000, 3,000 crores. The number is not yet out. But this is something which is up in the happening. The other one is in the vaccines. So Dr. Krishna Ella spoke about vaccines. So here also you will have vaccines for which vaccines were not covered in the earlier schemes. Huh? So this is now being brought in, and also for its components. See, to manufacture a vaccine, you need not just the clone development onwards, you need cell culture, media, the chromatographic resins. There are a whole lot of things which are required. And all these things currently, even we are now into vaccines, we are importing because good suppliers in the Indian market. So that dependency has to come, and that dependency.
So here also you will have vaccines for which vaccines were not covered in the earlier schemes. Huh? So this is now being brought in, and also for its components.
Yes, for country, India, yes, there is a lot of good opportunities. For pharma and tech companies also growth opportunities because they can greenfield, right? And they can set manufacturing. Even companies outside of India can set up their facilities here. And for students like you, there's a lot of opportunities. You capitalize on it. So that's what I want to tell you briefly. And I have got few copies of my book, which is there, and it will give you a good perspective what the industry is, and of course, it will help you with your interviews. Some 30, 40, those who are interested can take it. It's otherwise 550 on the MRP, but for students, it's for 300. So when needs it, they can have it. So I'm telling you, not trying to boast what I've written, but it's really, really good. It covers most of the chapters, which will help you in the long run. So right from whether it's organ transplants, medical drugs, blood banking, use of pharmaceutical DCs, which is combinations, biosimilars, whistleblowers, all these things are really things which are, and a lot of things are actually asked when you have questions which are posed by the executives when they go on. Thank you, and I would like to bring the floor open. Have.
So if you have any doubts about the session, you can ask. എന്തെങ്കിലും if you have any questions, you have 10 minutes to ask. Okay?
When I started my career in pharma, honestly, I didn't know that whether I'll end up in pharmacy. I'd gone practicing for medical, didn't qualify, then I thought, then let me do something paramedical. That's how I ended in pharmacy. So it was not a vision which I had when I started joining pharmacy. But by the time I finished my B.Pharm, I knew that I need to excel myself. And for doing that, I wanted to ensure that my qualifications are going to meet my expectations. So that's why I finished my master's. I did from Punjab University, Chandigarh. Those days we had GATE, and now you have GPAT, right? So those days we had GATE. And then qualified UGC and did my PhD again from Chandigarh, from Punjab, Professor S.K. Kulkarni. And then 5 years, and then last 20 years with Reliance. So I've handled multiple portfolios, right from clinical trials to project management, medical writing, then regulatory. Now at Reliance, we have, as I said, multiple countries. India is one of the countries for us, different kinds of products. You will not have many companies having different kinds of products, be it pharmaceuticals, be it biologics, be it blood products, be it vaccines, and we are also into gene therapy now. We just started gene therapy. So there's whole array of domains where you can actually excel yourself, read, and then come up in life. So it's not that you are right now in B.Pharm, tomorrow you may go into some venture capital. It may also be possible, depending upon the way you take your career. But once you decide this is a career path I want to choose, then try to excel yourself in that, because that's where you'll be able to reach to a particular position after a few years. Because if you just join after B.Pharm in industry, you will get a job. I'm not denying that. But then for you to grow up the ladder in that industry, it needs some amount of, say, differential factor as compared to the rest of the crowd. And for that differential factor, it could be academics. I did MBA for my IIM. Now that is not something which is required for me. I would have still continued with my profile. I have been, as you would have heard, I have written 36 publications. And out of that, almost 20 publications are after I joined the industry. Once you join the industry, you don't have time to actually do things outside of the company work. And hardly people do that, especially writing. And that's my passion. So I do that because I want people to experience what is required. And this is the 5th edition, in fact. And each time when I write, I try to keep updating new chapters so that students and others, even academicians who try to buy it, they're benefiting from it. So please try to excel yourself in whichever career you take. It may not be today you're in pharmacy, tomorrow you want to go for civil service. It's possible. But try to decide upon your career at the earliest. That is what is going to help you in the long run. Ask questions, because they have given me 10 minutes. I am happy to take as many questions as much as possible. And be vocal, because you have to be very clear in your thought process, very clear in your communications, because only then you will be able to stand out in the crowd. Otherwise, there will be hundreds like you and me. Unless and until you are able to stand out, people will not recognize you, people will not take you seriously. Keep asking, pass on the mic. Maybe the teachers should start first, then the students will get some inspiration. How many teachers in the crowd? Yeah, 1 minute. There's one teacher down there. And by the way, keep wishing your teachers. That's one thing I always do. Every Teacher's Day, I make it a point to call my teachers, right from school to college.
Sir, my name is Rajeshwari. I work as a lecturer in KMP College of Pharmacy. So my doubt is that what is the criteria by which the industry candidates from LinkedIn and other resources? Not all the students who apply in companies get their job.
Yeah, Rajshri. So, the company may have different policies of recruiting people. For example, if the requirement, it depends upon all the requirement what they have. They may have a policy that they will go for campus selections and then only they will recruit, wherein they will like to see the candidates in bulk, interview them one after the other. There's a beauty parade happening. People will come, they will narrate what is asked for, and then they will shortlist. There may be other companies who will be preferring do it on an online mode. Like they'll do it through video conferencing. They will, some may have, say, agencies which will help them with the shortlisting process. Some may try to do it on the LinkedIn. They'll post it on the LinkedIn and then people will apply. Some may be doing it on a mixed kind of, they will have LinkedIn also, they will have agency also, right?
I want to know how you select from LinkedIn profiles.
I was coming to that. So these are the kind of modes we have to select people. Coming to LinkedIn, if you have to take people from LinkedIn, one, there needs to be a good referral because there will be many students who will be applying through LinkedIn. So as a company, they'll be trying to cross-verify whether the person one is genuine, whatever credentials he or she has put in is really authentic, and then what all cross-references which are provided by the applicant. And then based on the years of experience which that person may have posted on his LinkedIn profile, it will be evaluated. Now, if the requirement is huge in terms of number of people, then there's a possibility of more number of candidates being picked up by LinkedIn as well. Otherwise, many companies are more comfortable by taking candidates through agencies because agencies will do the groundwork of screening and doing all the dirty work which is required to filter out candidates who are not going to be suitable for a particular profile for a company. But there would be companies who would on LinkedIn because for them, and but at the same time they have to invest time and resources to make sure that they're getting the best candidates. Companies may be fine with whatever candidates they get on LinkedIn. Some companies are very selective in terms of the profile they get on LinkedIn. So it depends upon all these factors on how you evaluate. But make sure that your CVs really stand out. That is one thing. Okay, whether you post it on LinkedIn, whether you put it on through an agency, or otherwise whether you're directly applying to the company on the website. So one is making the CV impressive. The second is that make sure that CV speaks about you as a person, not something what say she has done in her academics or what somebody else done in her academics. It should be what you have done and what you are capable of and what you are projecting in your CV about what you as a candidate, not about someone else. Because in interviews, somebody would have written, but when questions are asked on that and it is found as then very impression walked out. Don't think it is not what you or what you're capable of doing. So that answers your question.
So, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
A very nice presentation on PLIs and other. One question regarding that in Kerala there are around 58 colleges currently. A huge manpower and huge HR resources is from Kerala. What is basic, according to you, what's the basic reason pharma industries are not coming to Kerala to start, especially MNC companies?
Okay.
What we need to work on it. So, the huge manpower can work on that companies. What may be the reason?
Yeah.
According to you, where we need to improve?
See, the reason is there in front of you. In terms of, just look at the pharma industry. Look at the other industries also there in India, or in Kerala for that. How many industries are there in India? Again, I'm coming back in Kerala. Very few.
Yeah.
Right? What's the reason? It's a political will. You have political parties who are more interested in going for Samaram. Samaram. So companies don't like that because one day of production, how much, especially a company like ours, even if we lose one day in getting an ANDA filed, there could be a patent which will be expiring the very next day. So the stakes are very high in terms of the days lost, of manpower lost. And if a company set up in place, as of now, because I don't know when it's going to be on strike, either the next week or next to next week. I was telling Justin, who came with me while I was being accompanied from the airport, that over in Bombay, we don't even have a strike even a single day. At the most, it would be just one day. At the most, that too, it's not even that. because things are so streamlined. People are tuned to the way the companies or the industry has to work. It's pure business to business relationship. Unfortunately, kids who are going to school are happy. Or if it is somebody else, so things are taken for granted. Nobody realizes the value of what it is going to cost. There are so many buses which will be broken apart, glasses broken apart. What for? What are we trying to gain for this? Is somebody going to pay for it? No, the government has to pay for it, right? So unless and until that environment changes, the industry will be very skeptical to come. Honestly, pharmacy is also not an exception to that, because pharma industry is also looking at the other industries which are taking in IT. People who work from home. Whereas pharma, you need to be people on the ground. When we had COVID, I as an individual and even my leadership team members who were with me, we all had been going daily to the company. We all had work from home. People who are in the manufacturing units, people who are in the QA, people who are in QC, all had to come daily to office because we are working like just people who had limitations, they were allowed, but otherwise by and large all of us were working from office. So that's a mindset. That mindset has to come right from the top. It does not come from bottoms up. It has to come from top down. It has to be drilled down. So that's the reason. Unfortunately, it is the case. But I hope things will change in times to come, where the politicians and the government will also realize where they are lying and will make. At the same time, I find a lot of private colleges. Karnataka is another example, which you won't probably find in many other states. So that way there is huge amount of manpower which is getting generated, but that manpower is not getting accommodated within the state. Primarily for the reasons because you have manpower with education, but they're not getting satisfied from the resources which are being provided to them within the state. That's why they're moving out. They're moving out to cities, metros probably within Kerala or outside of Kerala to find abroad better jobs. So we need to change that.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Yes.
Please feel free to ask, because see, these kind of opportunities elsewhere. How do you utilize that?
I would like to know about your book, The Act Wasn't.
Oh yeah. That's
What does it?
go ahead. I didn't let you complete your question.
I just want to know the message that is conveyed by your title.
Okay.
The Act That Wasn't.
Yeah. So good you asked. I wrote this right from. It took me 2 years to print my first edition. That was in 2017. As you can see, the registered mark on the T was. I get that because I was fortunate to take a title which was very catchy. Catchy is one aspect. What is going to get away from this is the act. When you talk of laws, Act A is written in capital. When you talk of deeds, I mean the people, the way pravartanam planning. A Malayalam അത്ര ശരിയല്ല. Pardon me, I was born and brought up in Delhi. അപ്പോൾ A ചെറുതായിട്ട് എഴുതണം. We write in small letters. So in the pharma space, industry or hospitals, academics, research, there are a lot of people who do misdeeds. They try to make their ends meet. So there are laws which are acts for each of these domains in pharma, whether it is RTI, whether it is medical devices, surrogacy, referrals. But there are people who try to misuse the law by having to make their way through the loopholes. As you can see, insider's view of healthcare laws, loopholes and reforms. So there are a lot of loopholes in the law. And these loopholes are, say, capitalized by the stakeholders, be it the physicians, be it the doctors, be it the pharma companies in a big way, and other miscreants were there. But ultimately the law catches up. जैसे हिंदी में बोलते हैं कानून के हाथ बड़े लंबे हैं, ठीक है? तो the law will ultimately catch up with you, but to make that, it's a big effort. So I've tried a lot of instances in each of these how the laws were made broadly, but then I've given real instances of the cases which were misdeeds by the industry, misdeeds by, if you talk of referrals, it talks about the kickbacks, the fees which are charged, the diagnostic labs, hospitals, doctors. There are huge number of, and there are a lot of testimonials which are there, which are by reputed people. doctors. The Supreme Court of India's former judge has written the foreword. I mean, I can go on speaking words. So that was my thought process of writing it. So you will really relish going through it. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll give the mic to Dr. Grace. She has been waiting graciously for me to stop. We can take questions after this also. Feel free. A grab after that.
So good afternoon, everyone. Now, I am given a very tough job because Bobby sir said that industry is so booming and healthcare is not, and I have to convince you otherwise. So it's a very difficult job for me to convince you otherwise. So before going into all that, I like to know my crowd. How many of you are from, the B Farm's second year, third years? Fourth? First? Okay, M Farms, I think just one was there, right? Okay, okay. Which branch are you, M Farm? Cutics? Pharmacy practice? Okay, and a bunch of PharmDs, right? All right. So I do not have any slides. Usually, but I thought, because this is a program where, the platform where I get to inspire people. And the only way to inspire people is telling you my story and as to how I have come to this short journey that I have traveled. So, ഇതിനകത്ത് നോൺ മലയാളീസ് എത്ര പേരുണ്ട് ഉണ്ടോ നോൺ ഓൾ മല്ലൂസ് ഓൾ റൈറ്റ് ഓക്കെ when I was your age, maybe like 17, 18, doing your 12th, doing your what next? Big question. What is to do with my life? Bobby sir said he wanted medicine, but then he got into paramedics. And I want to know about you. Why did you choose pharmacy? Why did you choose pharmacy? I'll give you some hint. I'll give you some of your hands. All right? Is it because you didn't get into medicine? How many? Okay. Is it because something family who said, pharma is a good industry to be? Okay. Anybody who has a family business or anything like that? Pharmacy? All right. So what about the rest? What got you to pharmacy? I never thought I will end up in pharmacy. I never ever thought I would end up in pharmacy. When I was studying in my 10th, I was not a good student during my school days. I used to be ranked 24th out of 36 students. I was never a child who gave so much attention to, the academics and everything. But somehow, because the medicine is the dictum, right? You have to do something that makes your parents so proud, that you feel so proud, you feel so precious. So I got into Kanjirapalli St. Anthony's Public School. So if you know Kanjirapalli, this is a school where brilliant Pala brilliant coaching centers, they recommend you. All right. So that means while you're studying your 11th and 12th, you get into the coaching also. You don't have to spend extra. But what happened was that with me, I had 10 more Kanjirapalli, and we had a gang. So Adin Dotta Arapi. And I'll tell you, and I'll exactly tell you, out of the 56 students that were in my class, there were 11 standards. There were more than 500 students. Okay. Computer sciences Pagudi and one. Okay. Out of the 56 in my class, you know what was my rank? 51. I don't have the eligibility to be here. What happened was that ആ സമയത്ത് because medicine പഠിക്കണോ seniors ഒക്കെ കുറേ എക്സാം എഴുതി കുറേ പേർ കിട്ടിയില്ല ഫാമിലിയിൽ കുറേ പേര് കുറച്ച് പേര് നോക്കി കിട്ടിയില്ല വെറുതെ ചാൻസ് എടുക്കണോ all these things happened and that's when they introduced the PharmD. Okay, 2008 was the first batch of PharmD and I graduated from 2009. Okay. So ഞാൻ എക്സാം എഴുതുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് എനിക്ക് അഡ്മിഷൻ കിട്ടും. Okay. So that's how I came into this. You know why I got into PharmD? Medicine alla, but for the wrong reasons. I'll tell you for the wrong reasons. Okay? One, you will be called a doctor. Okay? Two, മെഡിസിൻ MBBS 5 വർഷം, പിന്നെ MD 3 വർഷം, 8 വർഷം. Integrated PG, അടിപൊളി. Third, you will be able to prescribe. Okay? Okay, that's great. Fourth, you will be able to recommend to the doctor what they should write. Okay? Now, how many of you, okay, at least in the PharmDs, how many of you agree with me? That these, then okay, the final one, abroad. Ayyo, veliyil poi kayinju orupaadu sadhagala. Okay? So I got into PharmD for the very wrong reasons. But somehow God has led me so far in a good way. I will, the more talks I give to PharmD students, I ask them, how many of you regret PharmD? So I ask, in the small bunch of students who are here, how many of you regret PharmD? Because I actually regret. But I'm here to tell you, no need to. Because you can do a lot. And this platform, I'm happy they gave me this platform to invite you as to how and what are the possibilities that is of you. Now, I most of these students here are big. I want to ask some students, like, what do you see, or how do you see yourself as a pharmacist to graduate? What are you planning to do? Industry? And how many of you know patient? My father, when I was to go for coaching, maybe as long as kind, there will be medicines, there will be diseases. Okay, these all things pushed me to go into the thing. Now, what I realized was I set this 6 years. In the home of, so I love history. When you have that passion, when you are in that state, you are to be, you will excel. You will do everything. Ensure that your life or namkoru satisfaction gittum, right? And after completing all these 6 years and everything, what PharmD didn't offer is that I belong to 2009 to 2015. Okay. Second batch, പഠിപ്പിക്കാൻ നമ്മളെ പഠിപ്പിക്കുന്ന staff, not blaming, but they do not have skill exposure. Disease we must know before handling drugs. Okay, so this is even in US, if you take, there is no B.Pharm PharmD, there's only PharmD. I'm not saying the difference, anganalle I am parayunnu, whatever course they are doing is the B.Pharm equivalent aanu PharmD. Okay, പക്ഷേ അവർക്ക് അറിയാവുന്ന knowledge about a disease, about a drug, it's incomparable. നമുക്ക് കൊടുക്കാൻ അറിയാം, പക്ഷെ മരുന്നിനെ പറ്റി എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്യാൻ നമുക്കറിയാമോ? ആൻറ്റി ഹൈപ്പർടെൻസീവ് അറ്റനലോൾ എടുക്കാം. Now, what do you look for when you give atenolol? What thing that you should do? One thing you give block? The most important one. Asthma patient saying you already give tablet. The patient saying, what do you monitor? ഒരു ഡ്രഗ് കൊടുത്താൽ അതിൻ്റെ എഫക്റ്റ് മോണിറ്റർ ചെയ്യുന്നതിന് എന്താ, വാട്ട് ഇസ് ഇറ്റ്? ബി പി ആണോ? പൾസ് റേറ്റ്? സോ ഇങ്ങനെ എസെൻഷ്യൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള തിങ്സ് വി ഡോണ്ട് നോ. വി ആർ നോട്ട് ടോട്ട് ഇൻ കരിക്കുലം. നോട്ട് ടോട്ട് എന്ന് ഒരിക്കലും ഐ വിൽ നോട്ട് സേ നോട്ട് ടോട്ട്. നമ്മുടെ കരിക്കുലത്തിന് വേർട്ടിക്കൽ ഇൻ്റഗ്രേഷൻ ഇല്ല. നമ്മൾ പഠിക്കുന്നതും സെക്കൻഡ് ഇയർ പഠിക്കുന്നതും ഫൈനൽ ഇയർ നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യുന്നതും തമ്മിൽ ഒരു ബന്ധമില്ല. That's where, because Sir was saying, right, LS was saying, what we lack versus China is the skills. Knowledge ഉണ്ട്, skill ഇല്ല. That is where we have to upgrade ourselves. We need to have the skills to ensure that we are confident enough in delivering what we are ought to deliver. Okay. So ഞാൻ എല്ലാം കഴിഞ്ഞ സമയത്ത് I studied in PSG Coimbatore. Okay, it is one of the best colleges, I would say. It's a good college. But പ്രശ്നം എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ മലയാളികളാണ് ഫണ്ട് എടുക്കുന്നത് ആ സമയത്ത്. സോ ഇൻ മൈ ബാച്ച് ഓഫ് 30 സ്റ്റുഡൻസ് 26 were Mallus, 3 Andhra, 1 Tamilian in a Tamil Nadu college. Okay, I never had to speak Tamil. അറിയാം, ബ്രോക്കൺ അറിയാം. സോ ഇല്ലാതെ എങ്ങനെ പേഷ്യൻ്റ് കൗൺസിലിംഗ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്? സോ ഐ നെവർ ഡിഡ് പേഷ്യൻ്റ് കൗൺസിലിംഗ് in effect. Okay, because I had that high head. നമ്മൾ അറിയത്തില്ല, ഹൈ ഹോഴ്സിൽ ഇരുന്നിട്ട് ഞാൻ ഡോക്ടറിനോട് വർക്ക് ചെയ്യേണ്ട ആളാണ്, ഞാൻ പേഷ്യൻറ്റോട് വർക്ക് ചെയ്യേണ്ട ആളുണ്ട് പറഞ്ഞില്ലെങ്കിലും കുഴപ്പമില്ല എന്നൊക്കെയുള്ള മെൻ്റാലിറ്റി. അതുകൊണ്ട് നോ ദ പൾസ്. ഐ നോ ദ പൾസ് ഓഫ് all of you because I've been through that and I've been humbled through my journey. Okay, so ഞാൻ ഇറങ്ങിക്കഴിഞ്ഞ് fortunately I got into Believers, and the reason why I am so happy that I was in Believers is because I had a leader. My mentor is Dr. George Chandy, who was the previous director of CMC Vellore. He saw something. സാറിന് ഫാമിലി എന്താണെന്ന് പോലും അറിയത്തില്ലായിരുന്നു. ഒരു ആപ്ലിക്കേഷൻ ഒന്ന് ചുമ്മാ എടുത്തേക്കാം എന്ന് നോക്കി ഒന്ന് എടുത്തു. ആൻഡ് ഹീ ടോൾഡ് മീ, we'll assess you for 3 months and then we'll decide whether to get more people or not. Okay, so and he put me under one doctor who was handling the pharmacy part of it. ഫാർമസിയുടെ ഡയറക്ടർ പോലത്തെ സാറിൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് ഞാൻ സാറിൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് ചെന്നു. സാർ, ഞാനാണ് ഫാമിലി. എന്താണ് സാർ പറഞ്ഞു? മോളെ, എനിക്ക് എന്താണെന്ന് പോലും അറിയത്തില്ല. നീ എന്താ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് നീ എന്നോട് പറ, ഞാൻ അങ്ങനെ ചെയ്തു തരാം. So he said, so I told him, sir, I need a department to work with. I need you to put me in one department and I want to choose medicine and critical care. കാരണം ഏറ്റവും നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ഒത്തിരി ഡ്രഗ്സ്. അത് മെഡിസിൻ പറയുമ്പം, ജനറൽ മെഡിസിൻ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ എവറി പേഷ്യൻറ്റ് കംസ് ഇൻ ജനറൽ മെഡിസിൻ. സോ യു ഗെറ്റ് ടു സി എ ഹോൾ ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് ഡ്രഗ്സ്. ആൻഡ് റൗണ്ട്സിന് പോകുന്നു. റൗണ്ട്സിന് വാട്ട് ഹാപ്പൻസ് ഇസ് യൂഷ്വലി നമ്മൾ ഏറ്റവും വാലിൻ്റെ ഏറ്റവും പുറകില്ല, ഡോക്ടർ മുമ്പിൽ, പിന്നെ അവരുടെ ട്രീറ്റിംഗ് ഡോക്ടറെ ഏറ്റവും മുമ്പിൽ പോകുന്നു, പുറകെ ജൂനിയർ ഡോക്ടേഴ്സ് പോകുന്നു, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ SRA APs പോകുന്നു, ജൂനിയർ ഡോക്ടേഴ്സ് പോകുന്നു, പിന്നെ കുറച്ച് ഇൻചാർജ് പോകുന്നു, എല്ലാം ഒന്ന് നമ്മൾ ഏറ്റവും അവസാനം പുറകെ പോകുന്നു. ഓക്കെ, സോ ബട്ട് ഐ വാസ് നോട്ട്, എനിക്ക് അതിനൊന്നും ഒരു പ്രശ്നമില്ല. ആൻഡ് there used to be one SR who asked me, വല്ല ഫാമിലി എടുത്താൽ മതിയായിരുന്നു, ചുമ്മാ ഇങ്ങനെ നടക്കായിരുന്നു. എവറി സിംഗിൾ ഡേ യൂസ് ടു ടെൽ മീ ദിസ്. ആദ്യം സങ്കടം തോന്നുമായിരുന്നു, പക്ഷെ പിന്നെ അവിടുത്തെ സാരമില്ല. One day I was irritated when he made the statement. So ഞാനൊരു കാര്യം, നിങ്ങൾ MBBS കഴിയുമ്പോൾ എല്ലാവർക്കും അറിയാവോ? അതോടെ സാറ് നിർത്തി, അതോടെ പിന്നെ എന്നെ ചൊറിഞ്ഞിട്ടില്ല. We are very good friends. But I'm happy that he did that because it kind of it kind of drove me as to, you need to get something, you need to have the confidence, you need to have the excellence. So there was one patient whom they were trying to treat because the lady had cardiac failure, rheumatoid heart disease, arthritis, psychiatric diseases, a bunch of 25 medicines. And along with that, cirrhosis, കുറേ സമയം എന്തൊക്കെ നോക്കിയിട്ട് ഷുഗർ കൺട്രോൾ ആവില്ല. ഇൻസുലിൻ കൂട്ടിക്കൊണ്ടേയിരിക്കുന്നു, ഷുഗർ കൺട്രോൾ ആകുന്നില്ല. സോ my doctor came to me and asked me, Chris, can you just go through, we have a complex case, can you just go through this list of medications and see if there are any interactions? So I thought, പിന്നെന്താ നോക്കാമല്ലോ. കുത്തിയിരുന്ന് നോക്കി. ഇൻട്രാക്ഷൻസ് എല്ലാം ചെക്ക് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പം, നമ്മൾ ഇൻട്രാക്ഷൻ ചെക്കറിനകത്തൊന്നും ഇട്ട് കൊടുത്താൽ മതിയല്ലോ, പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് പണിയൊന്നും ഇല്ലല്ലോ. ഇൻട്രാക്ഷൻസ് എല്ലാം ഇട്ട് കൊടുത്തു. ഒരു 25 ഇൻട്രാക്ഷൻ. ഇതിനകത്ത് ഇനി ഏതാ ചൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്? എന്തായാലും ആൻസർ കൊടുക്കണം എന്തായാലും നമുക്ക്. So I tried sorting it as to what is related to glucose control and what is the drug that is commonly being the one that is causing the problem with glucose control. And I identified, because she is a psychiatric patient, she was on quetiapine. I suggested to ma'am, quetiapine might be the culprit because it's a lot of interactions. They stopped the drug. You know what happened? Patient went into hypoglycemia. Because it worked, right? The intervention I said worked. They were unable to control. അല്ലേ, അവർക്ക് പറ്റുന്നില്ല, എത്ര ഇൻസുലിൻ കൂടിയിട്ടും പറ്റുന്നില്ല. It was just one drug that caused whole hangama. So I was also feeling very happy. I was also feeling very energized. But what happened was that at the end of 3 months, my director asked my medical head, how is she? And what happened between them. I don't know what happened. And they asked, and he might have given a good impression about this thing. So my director comes to me and tells me, Grace, I see a lot of potential, but the problem is you lack a lot of skills, and I would like to teach you. And I would like you to work in much more, usefulness, in much more, whatever you're doing, it should have an impact. So angana reethil I can help you in attaining the skills. So he started the program called the clinical specialist. After 3 months, how many people they took? 15. All of a sudden. Okay, and they start training us in understanding the diseases, in understanding what to look for in a disease, how to work up a case, how to take up a good history, how to manage the patient when the patient is sick. എല്ലാം പഠിപ്പിച്ചു. അങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരുപാട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ പഠിപ്പിച്ചു. And at the end of the whole thing, we had an exam. And fortunately, at that time I felt it was unfortunate because I was the topper in that 15, among the 15 lot. And doctor, he came to me and asked me, Grace, I want you to move from general medicine to gastroenterology, because he's a gastroenterologist. And I was like, gastro, oh my God, drug illathor department. Aga 5-6 drug. Avada poyittu ende career endavana. I initially to know, sir, I would like to stay back in general medicine. He's a nice man. He said, no problem. Then I felt, endara hungariya njan to tell the director that I will not go to his department. Immediately that night I went and apologized to him. I said, sir, whatever you say, I'll do. And that decision changed my life forever. I started seeing patients. I started seeing patients in his OPD, in his IP. All patients I manage ചെയ്യാൻ തുടങ്ങി. That meant that ഈ ഹൈ ഹെൽഡ് ഹോഴ്സ് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞില്ല, ഇങ്ങനെ കുറേ ഞാൻ ഡോക്ടറിന് ഇങ്ങനെ ആയിരിക്കും അങ്ങനെ ആയിരിക്കണം. The whole ആ ഒരു illusion broke for me that it's not important. What is important is the patient. When you interact with your patients, നമ്മളെല്ലാം എന്തിനാണ്? നമ്മളൊരു ജോലി ചെയ്യുന്നതിനാ, for the job satisfaction. That job satisfaction I've never felt so strong when I interacted with the patient. I never felt it was, doctors in the recommendation versus a patient that we work in, there's no comparison. Because I used to think, because Shimama was asking me what is my topic. I said I would like to talk about who am I as a healthcare professional to the patient. ഞാൻ റൗണ്ട്സിന് പോകുന്നു, ആ പേഷ്യൻ്റ് ഡോക്ടറോട് ബൈ പറയും, നഴ്സിനോട് ബൈ പറയും, എല്ലാവരും പറയും, വാട്ട് അബൌട്ട് മീ, ഹൂ ആം ഐ ഇൻ ദാറ്റ് ടീം? That's where I could make a change. That's where I could lead the rounds. So when you come to the patient, when you the Indian scenario, I don't have any statistics or anything. I usually do, but all I can tell you that's easily relatable to you is that I had recently gone to Detroit Medical Center. I had a training as part of the SHE ambassador. I went there and I was posted in the HIV clinic. So my sir, Dr. Chandrasekhar, I asked him, sir, what is your busy day like? How many patients do you see? Sir, എത്ര പറഞ്ഞറിയോ? ഒന്ന് ഗസ് ചെയ്യാവോ? What's his busy day OPD? എത്രയാ? 15. അത്രയ്ക്ക് പോണ്ട. 7. He said, 7 patients ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ it's so tough for me to be in the OPD. And you know how much patients Dr. Patnav Cherno in care sees a day? എത്രയാ?
Around hundreds of.
120 patients a day. You just see the vast difference. A doctor in the US seeing 7 patients saying it's a busy day for him versus in India, a doctor sees 120 patients. Now, just common sense use ചെയ്താൽ മതി. Common sense use ചെയ്താൽ മതി. ഈ 120 പേഷ്യൻ്റ് ആണെങ്കിൽ ഒരു ഡോക്ടർ ഒരു പേഷ്യൻ്റ് എടുത്തിട്ട് നേരെ സംസാരിക്കും. Now, I'll tell you the relevance of this one. Because I was in gastro for a little bit of time, we used to get a lot of cirrhosis patients. Okay? Karal Rogam, cirrhosis. What cirrhosis? It's an irreversible change that is happening in the liver, that your organ is damaged. Okay. Your organ is damaged, it's not going to come back to its normalcy. Okay. And we have a lot of patients who are being mismanaged from other centers where ആരുടെയും തെറ്റല്ല, ഞങ്ങൾ ആരുടെ മനസ്സിലാക്കി എന്താണ്. When a appachan comes or an auntie comes to me with a history of cirrhosis, പുതിയതായിട്ട് ഡയഗ്നോസ് ചെയ്ത cirrhosis ആണ്, he came for GC sir to have a second opinion. So usually ഞാൻ ഹിസ്റ്ററി എടുക്കാൻ നോക്കുമ്പം I ask him, അങ്കിളിൻ്റെ കരൾ രോഗത്തെ പറ്റിയിട്ട് അങ്കിളിന് എന്താ അറിയാവുന്നത്? എന്താ അങ്കിളുടെ രോഗത്തെ പറ്റി എന്താ അറിയാവുന്നത്? എനിക്കോ കരളിൽ എന്തോ ഒരു വീക്കം. That's it. That's their knowledge about cirrhosis. That's when we understood the importance of having patient counseling in its real sense. Not just telling, propranolol, portal hypertension, കൊടുത്താൽ ബ്ലീഡ് ഉണ്ടാകാതിരിക്കും. പേഷ്യൻ്റ് എന്ന് മനസ്സിലാവാനോ അല്ലേ? What we have created there in Believers is something called the Chronic Disease Management Clinic, where chronic diseases, ഞാനിപ്പം വേറെ ഒന്നിനെ പറ്റി പറയുന്നില്ല, chronic diseases, at least the end organ damage disease that you take, cirrhosis, kidney disease, പിന്നെ ഉള്ളത് heart failure, all these end organ disease ഉള്ള patientsന് they know what to expect. See, it's like you have a normal liver, you have a liver cirrhosis. നോർമൽ ലിവർ ചെയ്യേണ്ട ഫങ്ഷൻസ് സിറോട്ടിക് ലിവർ ചെയ്യാതിരിക്കുമ്പോഴാണ് കോംപ്ലിക്കേഷൻസ് ഉണ്ടാകുന്നത്. നോർമൽ ലിവർ ഫങ്ഷൻസ് എന്തൊക്കെയാണ്? ഇറ്റ് പ്രൊഡ്യൂസസ് ആൽബുമിൻ, പ്രോട്ടീൻ ഉണ്ടാക്കും. സോ വെൻ യുവർ സിറോട്ടിക് പേഷ്യൻ്റ് ഇസ് ഹാവിങ് ലോ പ്രോട്ടീൻ, പീഡൽ എഡിമ, കാലിൽ നീര് കെട്ടാൻ തുടങ്ങും, വയറ്റിൽ വെള്ളം കെട്ടാൻ തുടങ്ങും. പേഷ്യൻ്റ് ബെസ്റ്റ് തിങ് ടു tell them your protein is going to be low from now on. You take protein-rich diet. Counseling point number 1. Second, കരൾ സിറോസിസ് എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ ഫൈബ്രോസിസ് ആയി കട്ടാവുക ചെയ്യുന്നത്, ആ സോഫ്റ്റ്നെസ് മാറി കട്ട് ചെയ്യുക ചെയ്യുന്നത്. സോ ഇതിൽ കൂടെ പോകുന്ന പ്രഷർ, കാരണം നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ ഒരു ഓസ് വെച്ച് വെള്ളം ഒഴിക്കുന്നു, ഞെക്കി പിടിച്ച് ഓസ് വെച്ച് വെള്ളം ഒഴിച്ചാൽ എന്ത് പറ്റും? വെള്ളം ചീറ്റിപ്പോവും അല്ലേ? അതുപോലെ തന്നെ സിറോസിസിൽ ഈ പോകുന്ന രക്തക്കുഴലിൽ കൂടെ ബ്ലോക്ക് വന്നുകൊണ്ട് go up. And because the pressure goes up in your esophagus, in your stomach. ഇവിടെ ചെന്നിട്ട് നമ്മൾ കാലിൽ വെരിക്കോസ് എന്താ വരുന്നത്? ടീച്ചേഴ്സിനൊക്കെ നിന്ന് കാലിലെ പ്രഷർ കൂടുമ്പോൾ പാമ്പിനെ പോലെ അല്ലേ? സെയിം തിങ് ഹാപ്പൻസ് ഇൻസൈഡ് യുവർ esophagus and your stomach. This and at one point this will bleed. ബ്ലീഡ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ എന്ത് പറ്റും? വയറ്റിലോട്ടാണ് പോകുന്നത്. വയറ്റിൽ പോയിട്ട് ആസിഡുമായിട്ട് മിക്സ് ആവും. എന്നിട്ട് വെളിയിൽ വരുമ്പോൾ കാപ്പിപ്പൊടി നിറം, തവിട്ട് നിറം. ഞാൻ കട്ടൻ കാപ്പി കുടിച്ചാൽ ശ്രദ്ധിച്ചത്. അയ്യോ സ്ഥിരം, ഞാൻ ചുമ്മാ കള്ളം പറയുന്നില്ല, ഞാൻ പറയുന്നില്ല. ഞാൻ എന്താ പറയുന്നതെന്ന്. This propranolol will decrease portal hypertension. Therefore, risk of bleeding is കുറഞ്ഞു. സോ നിങ്ങൾ ഇനി ഡ്രഗ് എടുക്കണമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അവരെടുക്കാതിരിക്കുമോ? നോൺ കംപ്ലയൻസ് വരുമോ? നോ. This is where we can. This is where we as pharmacists can make a difference. We have the ability to know about disease. ബേസിക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ കുറച്ച് എഫേർട്ട് ഇടണമെന്ന് മാത്രമേ ഉള്ളൂ. ഡിസീസിനെ പറ്റി പഠിക്കുക. വാട്ട് ആർ ദ റെക്കമെൻഡേഷൻസ്? ബിക്കോസ് ദ ഡോക്ടർ ദ പേഷ്യൻ്റ് ഓൺലി ഫോർ 2 minutes or 5 minutes. ഡോക്ടർ ഇതെല്ലാം പറഞ്ഞു കൊടുക്കുമോ? നോ. ദിസ് ഈസ് ഹൗ യു ക്രിയേറ്റ് ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റീസ് ഫോർ അതേഴ്സ്. നൗ ഐ വിൽ ടെൽ യു വാട്ട് ഹാസ് ഹാപ്പൻഡ്. ഞാൻ 40 മിനിറ്റ് എടുത്ത് സിറോസിസിൻ്റെ കൗൺസിലിംഗ് കൊടുക്കും. അതുപോലെ ഓരോ കുഞ്ഞു കാര്യങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞു കൊടുക്കും. ആൻഡ് ഇറ്റ്സ് നോട്ട് എ ഗുഡ് ന്യൂസ് ഐ എം ബ്രേക്കിംഗ് ടു ദം. It's a very bad news. I'm telling them that your organ is gone, man. Okay? And you are going to have these many things. So you better prevent it, or when you have such things, you come to us. This is what I'm telling. In a just, adana parayunnathu. But you should see their reaction. And madam, ഞങ്ങളോട് ഇന്നേ വരെ ആരും ഇത് പറഞ്ഞു തന്നിട്ടില്ല. ഞങ്ങൾ എത്ര ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിൽ പോയിട്ടുണ്ടെന്നറിയാമോ? എന്തോ കരളിന് പ്രശ്നം ഉണ്ടെന്ന് മാത്രമേ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് അറിയത്തുള്ളായിരുന്നു. So patient care that we can offer, we as pharmacists can offer, because patient counseling is ours. It's ours to do, and we can do a very good job in doing this. Idu paranju convince. So when I took PharmD, whatever I stream wanted to take, I wanted to make my parents, I wanted to feel good for what I do. That's exactly what happened. Things introduced. So what happens? Patient സാധാരണ ഡിസ്ചാർജ് ആയി പോകുന്നു. IP എന്നുള്ള പേഷ്യൻ്റ് പോയിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഡോക്ടറെ കാണാൻ വരുന്നേ, ഡോക്ടറെ കാണാൻ. They will specifically ask for you. Where is that Dr. Grace? I want to see her. Isn't that satisfaction that you get? That you became your patient care, healthcare professional that നമ്മൾ ശരിക്കും in its true sense. Isn't that inspiring? So ഇങ്ങനൊന്ന് ആലോചിച്ച് നോക്കി. ഇവിടെ എത്ര ആശുപത്രികളുണ്ട്. വലിയ ആശുപത്രികളിലായിരിക്കും ഇതിൻ്റെയൊക്കെ ഇത് വരുന്നത്. നമുക്ക് ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ട് ചെയ്തു കൊടുത്ത് പേഷ്യൻറ്റിൻ്റെ ക്വാളിറ്റി. സി, ഐ ഓൾവേസ് ടെൽ മൈ ഡോക്ടേഴ്സ് ഈ ആള് പറഞ്ഞത് ഒത്തിരി ഹെൽപ്പായി. ദാറ്റ് വിൽ മേക്ക് ദ മാനേജ്മെൻറ്റ് ടു ടേക്ക് മോർ പീപ്പിൾ ഇൻ ടു ഹെൽത്ത് കെയർ. സംതിങ് ദാറ്റ് ഈസിലി ഡു. നിങ്ങൾ ഓരോരുത്തർ ഓരോ ഡിസീസ് എടുത്തു ബിഫാം ഇയേഴ്സ്, ഫൈനൽ ഇയേഴ്സ് പേഷ്യൻ്റ് കൗൺസിലിംഗ് ചെയ്യത്തില്ലേ? ഒരു ഡിസീസ് മര്യാദയ്ക്ക് അതിൻ്റെ പാത്തോഫിസിയോളജി പഠിച്ച് ചെയ്യേണ്ട കാര്യങ്ങൾ. പക്ഷേ വൺ തിങ് വെരി കെയർഫുൾ, വാട്ട് യു സേ ആൻഡ് വാട്ട് ദ ഡോക്ടർ സേ ഷുഡ് ബി സെയിം. What your doctor says. Listen very carefully what your doctor says. And then based on that, എന്നാ പഠിച്ചത്, സാർ എന്താ പറയുന്നതെന്നുള്ളത് ബേസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടാണ് ഈ പ്രോഗ്രാം. ഞാൻ ക്രെഡിറ്റ് എടുക്കുന്നെങ്കിൽ സാറിന് ഓക്കെ, യു ഹാവ് an agreement with your physician. Then you have gone. വേറെ ഒന്നും നോക്കണ്ട. കാണാം. And this is service. This is improvement. അങ്ങനെ പോയിന്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. Value. This is how you transform this, and not just transformation. ഇതൊന്നും അല്ല ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത്. Adds value to you as a pharmacist. It adds so much value to you. This is what is done abroad. Counseling എടുത്ത് they tell the patients ഇനി മരുന്ന് ഇങ്ങനെ ഇങ്ങനെ ഇന്ന കാര്യങ്ങളെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ്. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് the pharmacy is very busy, always busy. As a patient, counseling is mandatory there. This is something we all can. Okay. What in my career, but I'll tell you the career that I'm having. It's all based on and cardiothoracic surgery. Sir, എന്നോട് ഞാൻ സാറിനോട് പറഞ്ഞു, സർ എനിക്ക് പഠിക്കാൻ എന്തെങ്കിലും ഞാനെങ്കിലും തരാമോ? ഞാൻ ഉദ്ദേശിച്ച ഞാൻ വായിച്ചിട്ട് എന്തെങ്കിലും പഠിക്കാം എന്നാണ്. സാറിന് മനസ്സിലായത്, I asked him, can you give me something to study? What did he hear? എനിക്ക് സ്റ്റഡി എന്തെങ്കിലും തരാമോ? ഒരു ദിവസം വന്നപ്പം CABG കഴിഞ്ഞ പേഷ്യൻ്റ് കാലിൽ നിന്ന് ഗ്രാഫ്റ്റ് എടുത്ത് ഇവിടെ വെച്ച് CABG ചെയ്തു. CABG പേഷ്യൻ്റ് കാലിൻ്റെ അവിടെ ഇൻഫെക്ഷൻ അടിച്ചു. സോ ഈ പേഷ്യനെ കണ്ടുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ പഠിക്കേണ്ടത് പഠിച്ചോ. Donor site wound infection and donor site wound infection in a CABG. ഉദ്ദേശിച്ച പഠിത്തം അല്ലാതെ എന്തെങ്കിലും വെച്ചിട്ട് വന്ന് പറയാം. Antibiotics and everything. An act towards antibiotics, that I can do much more when it comes to antibiotics. So I started when I joined Believers. Vertical integration illa nammade syllabus nath onnum vertical integration illathuണ്ട്. I was very very low in my confidence. അപ്പോൾ എന്നോട് ഏത് ആൻറ്റിബയോട്ടിക് കൊടുക്കണമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നോക്കൂ. So I knew I had to train myself that I knew more. Okay, and ഞാൻ കല്യാണമൊക്കെ ആലോചിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരുന്ന സമയത്ത് ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ ഫാദർ passed away when I was studying my 4th year, and because I was one of the best students during my PharmD years, ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് 5th year ഒരു ടൊലൂഡോ യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റി ഒഹായോ US ഒരു സ്റ്റുഡൻറ് എക്സ്ചേഞ്ച് പ്രോഗ്രാം ഉണ്ട്. So you are eligible and come back. So I was the number 1 candidate at that time. But 4th year father marichadonde I decided I will not go abroad. Then പിന്നെ ഓർത്തു പോകുന്നില്ല. അപ്പോൾ എനിക്കൊരു സങ്കടം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, പോയില്ല എന്നുള്ളൊരു സങ്കടം മനസ്സിൽ എപ്പോഴും കിടപ്പുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. സോ അന്ന് പോയില്ല. കല്യാണമൊക്കെ ആലോചിച്ച സമയത്ത് ഞാൻ മമ്മിയോട് പറഞ്ഞു, മമ്മി എനിക്ക് ഒരു ആഗ്രഹമേ ഉള്ളൂ, ഞാൻ കെട്ടുന്ന ആളെങ്ങനെയാണെന്നുള്ളത് എനിക്കൊരു പിടുത്തവും ഇല്ല, എനിക്കൊരു പ്രാവശ്യം വെളിയിൽ പോകണം, ഒന്ന് ജസ്റ്റ് കാണാൻ. കാരണം കെട്ടിക്കഴിയുന്ന ആൾ വെളി കൊണ്ടുപോയില്ലെങ്കിൽ ഞാൻ പോയില്ലല്ലോ. ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ സാറിനോടും പറഞ്ഞു. സോ there was a conference that came in Believers at that. ഇപ്പം he is the College of Physicians ൻ്റെ president ആണ് സാറ്. Sir came there. അപ്പം Jesus spoke to this man saying she is very passionate about antibiotics. And again my reason was not the right one. എനിക്ക് വെളിയിൽ പോകാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ്. പക്ഷെ അങ്ങനെ പറഞ്ഞ് I went to Tufts Medical Center. But all these small things, all these small decisions really helped me in my career. Because when I went there, I saw how you can perform. There's no comparison. There's so much more you can do. So, that I can do so much more. അവിടെ പോയി ടഫ്സിൽ പോയി ഒരു മാസം നിന്നു, തിരിച്ചു വന്നു. പഠിക്കണം, പഠിച്ചേ പറ്റൂ. I don't know anything. എനിക്കൊന്നും അറിയത്തില്ല എന്നുള്ള റിയലൈസേഷൻ ശരിക്കും അവിടെ ചെന്ന് നമ്മൾ റൗണ്ട് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ എവറിത്തിങ് ഇസ് ഗ്രീക്ക് ആൻഡ് ലാറ്റിൻ. അവർ റൗണ്ട് ടേബിളിൽ ഇരിക്കുന്നു, അവർ ഓരോ ഡ്രഗ്സിൻ്റെ കാര്യം വേറൊന്നും നോക്കുന്നില്ല. അവർ പറഞ്ഞു ദാറ്റ്സ് എ ഫൈനൽ വേർഡ്, ദേ വിൽ നോട്ട് ഡിസഗ്രി, ഒന്നുമില്ല, നേരെ അവർ പറയുന്ന പോലെ ചെയ്യാം. സോ ഐ ന്യൂ ഐ ഹാഡ് ടു മേക്ക് then CMC because CMC is CMC. I spent 7 months in CMC. Appan COVID 7th monthilanu COVID vannathu. It really helped because the cases that you get to see really had me impact. ഞാൻ ആൻറ്റിബയോട്ടിക്സ് ഒക്കെ പിപ്രാസിലിൻ, ടെസ്റ്റോബാക്ടീരിയം, മുർപ്പീന, മറ്റേത് മറിച്ചെന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞ് പഠിക്കണം, ഇതിനെപ്പറ്റി പഠിച്ച് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മറ്റേ ഈക്കൊള്ളൈ, ക്ലെപ്സിയല്ല ഒക്കെ പഠിക്കണം എന്നൊക്കെ പോയതാണ്. അവിടെ ചെന്ന് ഫസ്റ്റ് പേഷ്യൻറ്റ് HIV with disseminated histoplasmosis. Second patient HIV with disseminated toxoplasmosis. ആൻറ്റിബയോട്ടിക്സ് പഠിക്കണം, ID പഠിക്കണമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് പോയതാണ്. അടുത്തടി വീണ്ടും കിട്ടി. ആൻറ്റിബയോട്ടിക്സ് മാത്രമല്ല, ആൻറ്റി ഫംഗൽസ് ഉണ്ട്, ആൻറ്റി വൈറൽസ് ഉണ്ട്. ഓക്കെ, സോ ദീസ് ആർ ഓൾ ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റീസ്. യു സീസ് ദം ആസ് ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റീസ്, വിൻഡോസ്. ലേൺ ഓൾ ദാറ്റ്. എനിക്ക് എന്തെങ്കിലും ദോഷം ചെയ്തോ? ഇല്ല. സോ ഐ സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് ബിൽഡിംഗ് ബൈ സ്മോൾ ബ്ലോക്സ് ബൈ ബ്ലോക്സ്. ആദ്യം ആൻറ്റിബയോട്ടിക്സിൻ്റെ ഒരു ബേസിക്സ് പഠിച്ചു, CMC എന്ന് പഠിച്ചു. അറ്റ് ദാറ്റ് ടൈം ഐ ഹാഡ് റിട്ടൺ ടു ഷിയ. ഷിയ ഈസ് Society for Healthcare Epidemiology for America. അത് വൺ ഓഫ് ദി ബിഗസ്റ്റ് ഗൈഡ് ലൈൻ ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്ന ID ഇൻഫെക്ഷൻ ഡിസീസിൻ്റെ ഗൈഡ് ലൈൻ ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്ന ഒരു മേജർ സൊസൈറ്റിയാണ്. ആ സൊസൈറ്റിയിൽ ഒരു അംബാസഡർ എന്നുള്ള രീതിയിൽ ചുമ്മാ ഒന്ന് എന്നെ ഒന്ന് കൺസിഡർ ചെയ്യാവോ, എനിക്കിതൊക്കെ ചെയ്യാൻ ആഗ്രഹമുണ്ടെന്ന് കൺസിഡർ ചെയ്യാവോ എന്ന് ചോദിച്ചയച്ചു. പ്രൊജക്റ്റ് ചെയ്ത് തിരിച്ചയച്ചു. സെയിം years of experience. Okay, then what happened? CMC in the Karinyu, Korchaka Padichu, then I decided I will do board certification because I had 4 years of board B-Farms. Okay, I'll tell you. And ചുമ്മാ എഴുതി എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഒരുപാട് കഷ്ടപ്പെട്ട് India. Any of the specialties. അതിന് മുമ്പ് ബോർഡ് സർട്ടിഫിക്കേഷൻ ഇന്ത്യയിൽ ആരും എടുത്തിട്ടില്ല. Because there are 14 specialties. Critical care ഉണ്ട്, ambulatory care ഉണ്ട്, cardiology ഉണ്ട്, ഒരുപാട് സാധനങ്ങളുണ്ട്. So I do that one. Oh, that is a prestigious thing. അല്ലേ, to be the first Indian എന്നൊക്കെ പറയണമെങ്കിൽ നമ്മളൊന്നും വിചാരിച്ചല്ല, ദയവായിട്ട് തന്നതാ. So now what happened with that അതാണ് ലാസ്റ്റ് കോൺവെർസേഷനിൽ ഞാൻ ഇത്രയാണ് ചെയ്തിരുന്നത്. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് ഞാൻ പോയി ഒഫീഷ്യൽ ട്രെയിനിങ് എടുത്തു, ഞാൻ പഠിച്ചു, ബോർഡ് സർട്ടിഫിക്കേഷൻ ചെയ്തു, അതിനിടയിൽ എന്തൊക്കെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ എഴുതി. I am capable of improving. And that time they accepted me as their ambassador, international ambassador. സാധാ 18 കൺട്രീസിൽ നിന്ന് ഓരോരുത്തരെ application submit ചെയ്യുന്നത്. 2022 ഇതിനു മുമ്പ് നേരത്തെ നമ്മുടെ അമൃതയുടെ ഹെഡായിട്ടിരുന്ന സഞ്ജീവ് സിംഗ് സാർ ആയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ആസ്റ്റർ മെഡിസിറ്റി ഐ ഡി ഫിസിഷ്യൻ were there in total from across the world. One was Dr. Rajalakshmi from KIMS, one was me. We had one person from Kenya who was a pharmacist, who was a big farm. Okay. വാങ്ങിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി പറയുന്നതല്ല. See, becoming ഇതൊക്കെ വെച്ചാൽ ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റി മുമ്പ് ആരും ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ലാത്ത കാര്യങ്ങളാണ്. ഞാൻ ചെയ്യാൻ മുതിർന്നു. I dare to just do it. അല്ലേ, അറ്റ്ലീസ്റ്റ് ജസ്റ്റ് അപ്ലൈ. കിട്ടത്തില്ല, എന്നോട് സാർ പറയുന്നത് 100 എണ്ണം എഴുതിയാലേ ഒന്ന് കിട്ടത്തുള്ളൂ എന്ന് എന്നോട് പറയുമായിരുന്നു പണ്ടോട്ടെ. I never believed him. But after this, my confidence in much more higher way. And after board certification, പണ്ട് എനിക്ക് എന്തിനാ ഇതൊക്കെ ചെയ്തതെന്നറിയാവോ? ഞാനിപ്പം ഒരു അല്ലാതെ ബോർഡ് സർട്ടിഫിക്കേഷൻ ഒക്കെ എടുക്കുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് വേണ്ട, എനിക്ക് പിപ്റ്റാസ് എഴുതിയാൽ പോരെ. അവർ ചോദിക്കത്തില്ലെങ്കിൽ അവരുടെ നോട്ടത്തിൽ നിന്ന് മനസ്സിലാവും ഇത് പറയാൻ നീ ആരാ. സോ ഐ ന്യൂ that. Who are you to say this? I am an infectious question. Don't bother me with those questions as to ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത് റിലേ ചെയ്യാൻ എന്നുള്ളത്. This is how you move towards achieving excellence. This is something each can from your college you can do. You don't have to be the brightest kid. You just have to be the motivated kid. You just have to be the kid. That matters. Anyway, 2022 ഷിയയിൽ പോയ സമയത്ത് I had a good number of collaborations. ഒരുപാട് ആൾക്കാരെ കാണാൻ പറ്റി. And they were all, ഓ നീ ഇത്രയും പ്രായത്തിൽ ഇത്രയൊക്കെ ചെയ്തോ? He was sharing such similar things with me. So you can also apply to പറ്റുന്നത്ര സ്കോളർഷിപ്പ് അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യാം. ഏതാ കിട്ടുന്നത് നമുക്ക് പറയാൻ പറ്റില്ല. But I really agree with Bobby sir saying that when you write a CV or when you write things for a scholarship or whatever it is, you tell them what you have done. ഒരാൾ എഴുതും, മറ്റേത് കോപ്പി പേരും അഡ്രസ്സും ഒക്കെ മാറ്റി അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും ചെറുതായിട്ട് പോയ കോൺഫറൻസസ് സെയിം, അറ്റൻഡ് ചെയ്ത ക്ലാസ്സസ് സെയിം. Nobody is bothered about your marks, man. It's what matters is what you have done during the time you were in your college. This is something that my doctor also told me, and a cardiothoracic surgeon who gave me the first stepping stone towards IT. I did an audit based on what he said. He said, you should say in 4-5 lines. ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു പ്രോബ്ലം ഐഡൻറ്റിഫൈ ചെയ്തു, ഇന്ന ഓഡിറ്റ് ചെയ്തു, ഇന്ന ഓഡിറ്റ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട് എനിക്ക് ഇന്ന ചേഞ്ചസ് വരുത്താൻ പറ്റി. So my CV is still like that. So you do in your CV what you have, you put in your CV what you have done. Sir പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ you have to be different. Why should I choose you? When you come to a job, why should I choose you among the other 50? There has to be something. Okay? So you try, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇഷ്ടമുള്ള ഏത് ചെയ്താൽ one idea, develop the idea. I'm sure you'll all succeed. Okay? So I am not അത്ര വലിയ ആളല്ല. ഞാൻ ഇപ്പോൾ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ I have only 7 years of experience after this family and everything. But what I could do is because it was a fertile soil. ഇതിനു മുമ്പ് ആരും ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല. ഇതുപോലെ ഒരുപാട് കാര്യങ്ങളുണ്ട് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട്. A fertile soil which you can explore in huge things, especially in patient care. You know how many clinical pharmacists are there in Believers right now? 45. 45 plus last week ഞാൻ 12 പേരെ ഇൻ്റർവ്യൂ ചെയ്ത് എടുത്ത് വെച്ചിട്ടിരിക്കുക. That means 45 plus 12, 57. It will be 57 clinical pharmacists. And you should come and see what you do. Doctors are very happy with the service that we are providing because we are actually making a difference in a patient's life. Anyone who is interested to come and spend 1 or 2 days with us, you're all, ആർക്ക് വേണമെങ്കിലും വരാം. We'll show you what can be done. So eventually saying pharmacy practice is something you can consider to be a clinical pharmacist. Okay? All right. So with that, I think I will if you questions.
Ma'am, just a second. ഒരു ചെറിയ അനൗൺസ്മെന്റ് ഉണ്ട്. അശ്വതി ബി വന്നിട്ടുണ്ടോ? If you have any questions to ask her, you can ask it and meet the volunteer here. Okay? Any questions?
Sorry. So after this everything, all these things, no? Right now I also work as an assistant professor in the Department of Pharmacology, teaching the medical pharmacology, which is happening all across the modern world. Pharmacists take classes for the medical students on drugs. If you show that you're good. So ഒരുപാട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമ്മളെ കൊണ്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. Just put your mind into it. Okay, open for questions.
Hi ma'am. ഞാൻ 3rd year B.Pharm സ്റ്റുഡൻ്റ് ആണ്. അപ്പോൾ എനിക്കിതുപോലെ കെമിസ്ട്രി ഭയങ്കര ഇഷ്ടമായിട്ടാണ് ഞാൻ B.Pharmലോട്ട് വന്നത്. പക്ഷെ ഇപ്പോൾ B.Pharm പഠിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്, മാർക്സ് ഒന്നും കുഴപ്പമില്ല. പക്ഷെ സ്റ്റിൽ മാം പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ ഒരു പ്രത്യേകിച്ചൊരു ഐഡിയ ഇല്ലേ? ഇപ്പോൾ മാം പറഞ്ഞല്ലോ ബീറ്റ ബ്ലോക്കർ കൊടുക്കുമ്പോൾ, പക്ഷെ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഐഡിയയും ഇപ്പോൾ 3rd year ആയിട്ടും പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് ഒന്നുമില്ല.
അയ്യോ 6th year ആയിട്ട് എനിക്കും ഇല്ലായിരുന്നു. പേടിക്കേണ്ട, അതൊക്കെ വന്നോളും. അതൊക്കെ വിത്ത് പ്രാക്ടീസ് വന്നോളും. We have to be consistent. We have to know the guidelines. We have to know the pathophysiology. See, എന്താ പ്രശ്നം ഞാൻ പറയട്ടെ. ഇപ്പം എനിക്ക് എൻ്റെ കരിക്കുലത്തെ പറ്റി പറയാൻ പറ്റത്തുള്ളൂ. ഞാൻ 2nd yearലാണ് പാത്തോഫിസിയോളജി പഠിക്കുന്നത്. സിറോസിനെ പഠിച്ചത് ഞാൻ 2nd yearലാണ്. 2nd year ഫാർമക്കോളജി ആണ്. പക്ഷേ 2nd year ഫാർമക്കോളജിയിലല്ല ഈ പാത്തോഫിസിയോളജി സിറോസിൻ്റെ പഠിക്കുന്നത്. 3rd yearലോ 4th yearലോ ആണ് പഠിക്കുന്നത്. തെറാപ്യൂട്ടിക്സ് എന്നിട്ട് നമ്മൾ എങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഡ്രഗ് ട്രീറ്റ്മെൻറ്റ് വേറെ വർഷം. സോ 3 സ്പ്ലിറ്റായിട്ടാണ് കിടക്കുന്നത്. ആ എക്സാമിന് വേണ്ടി പഠിക്കുന്നു എന്നല്ലാതെ ഒന്നും തലയിലോട്ട് കയറില്ല. ദാറ്റ് യു ക്യാൻ ഡു വെൻ യു സ്റ്റാർട്ട് സീയിങ് പേഷ്യൻസ്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വെൻ യു വോണ്ട് ടു even starting അതൊക്കെ ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്യാം.
എൻ്റെ വീട്ടിൽ ഉമ്മമ്മ ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ ഉമ്മമ്മ ഇപ്പം പറയും രാവിലെ ഓമി കഴിക്കണം, ഓമി എടുത്ത് ചോദിച്ചു, നീ വേറെയും പഠിക്കലുണ്ടല്ലോ ഓമി ഇല്ലാണ്ട് വേറെ, അപ്പോൾ എന്താ പറയുക എപ്പോഴും ഓമി കഴിക്കുന്നത്, ബാറിൽ എന്താ കഴിക്കാത്ത ചോദിക്കും. ഒരു ചോദിച്ചായിരുന്നു. അപ്പം ഞാൻ അപ്പം ഞാൻ ചോദിക്കുന്നത് ആ പഠിക്കുന്ന മെത്തേഡിൽ എന്തെങ്കിലും പ്രശ്നങ്ങളുണ്ടായിരിക്കുമല്ലോ, നമ്മൾ ചേഞ്ച് വരുത്തുക. അപ്പോൾ വാട്ട് ഷുഡ് ഐ ഡു?
Yes, the change that I always tell my interns, ഇപ്പം 6th-year interns we are having 50 interns in university. So ഞങ്ങൾ ഫൗണ്ടേഷൻ അതിലേക്കൂടെ നടക്കാൻ സ്ഥലം 100 പേര് അവിടെ തന്നെ ഉണ്ട് ഞങ്ങൾ. സോ ഞാൻ പറയുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യം എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഈ ഇൻറ്റഗ്രേഷൻ, ദിസ് വെർട്ടിക്കൽ ഇൻറ്റഗ്രേഷൻ ദാറ്റ് ഐ വാസ് ടോക്കിംഗ് അബൌട്ട്, സി ഫോർ യു ടു നോ അബൌട്ട് സിറോസിസ് യു നീഡ് ടു നോ അബൌട്ട് ദ ലിവർ. അതേതാ പഠിക്കണ്ടേ? അനാറ്റമി ആൻഡ് ഫിസിയോളജി. ഫസ്റ്റ് ഡേ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് വിത്ത് യുവർ അനാറ്റമി ആൻഡ് ഫിസിയോളജി. Second day, you understand what disease, pathophysiology. Normal. Diseased liver ennaanu prashnam. You try and learn manage disease. Management of a disease നമ്മൾ പറയുമ്പോൾ ലൈഫ് സ്റ്റൈൽ മോഡിഫിക്കേഷൻസ് ഉണ്ട്, ഫാർമക്കോളജിക്കൽ മാനേജ്മെൻറ്റ്സ് ഉണ്ട്, പല കാര്യങ്ങളുണ്ട്, കാര്യങ്ങൾ. പക്ഷെ അതിന് മുമ്പ് എങ്ങനെ ഡിസീസ് ഡയഗ്നോസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് നമ്മൾ അറിഞ്ഞിരിക്കണം. ഈവൻ ദോ വി ഫീൽ ഇറ്റ്സ് നോട്ട് our job, it's a doctor's job, it is very important that we should know how we diagnose. എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് ഒരു ഡിഫറൻഷ്യൽ ഡയഗ്നോസിസ് എന്നുള്ളത് നമുക്ക് അറിയാൻ പറ്റണം. സോ അനാറ്റമി പഠിക്കുക, അതിൻ്റെ ആ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ സൈൻസ് സിംറ്റംസ് ആ കാര്യങ്ങൾ പഠിക്കുക. യു സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ഹാവിങ് ദി മേജർ ലൈഫ് സ്റ്റൈൽ മാനേജ്മെൻറ്റ് പോലത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ പഠിച്ചിട്ട് ദെൻ യു ഗെറ്റ് ഇൻ ടു ദ ഫാർമക്കോളജി പഠിക്കുമ്പോൾ 2 കാര്യങ്ങൾ ശ്രദ്ധിക്കണം. യു നീഡ് ടു നോ ദ ക്ലാസിഫിക്കേഷൻസ്. ഇപ്പോൾ ഒമിപ്രസോൾ പറഞ്ഞു, പി പി ഐയുടെ ക്ലാസിഫിക്കേഷൻസ് പി പി ഐയുടെ ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ്. ഒമിപ്രസോൾ 20 mg ഈസ് ഈക്വൽ ടു പാൻറ്റോപ്രസോൾ 40 mg ഈസ് ഈക്വൽ ടു റാബിപ്രസോൾ 40 ഈസ് ഈക്വൽ ടു എസോമിപ്രസോൾ 20 mg എന്നുള്ള പോലത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ. ഒമിപ്രസോൾ വേഴ്സസ് റാബിപ്രസോൾ എന്താ വ്യത്യാസം, അങ്ങനത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഫാർമക്കോളജി, ഐ എം സെയിങ് ഫാർമക്കോളജി പഠിക്കണം. ഫാർമക്കോളജി പഠിച്ചിട്ട് തെറാപ്യൂട്ടിക്സ് പഠിക്കണം. ആ ഡിസീസിനെ ഇതെങ്ങനെയാണ് ടാക്കിൾ ചെയ്യുന്നത്, ഇതിങ്ങനെ വേർട്ടിക്കലി പഠിച്ചെങ്കിൽ മാത്രമേ തലയിൽ നിൽക്കത്തുള്ളൂ. സി ഫോർ അസ് ഹ്യൂമൻ ബ്രെയിനിൻ്റെ ഗുണമെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ എവറിത്തിങ്. സോ പാറ്റേൺ ഉണ്ടാക്കണം, ഒരു ഡിസീസിനെ പറ്റി ഒരു പാറ്റേൺ ഉണ്ടാക്കണം, സോ ദാറ്റ് യു ഡോണ്ട് ഫോർഗെറ്റ്. അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഡിസീസിനെ പറ്റി പഠിച്ചെങ്കിൽ യു വിൽ നോട്ട് ഫോർഗെറ്റ്. ബട്ട് മോർ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ്ലി പ്രാക്ടീസ്. അല്ലേ മറന്നു പോകും, ഒരു ദിവസം പഠിക്കുന്ന അടുത്ത ദിവസം മറന്നു പോകും. സോ ക്യാൻ ഐ ടെൽ യു, നിങ്ങളുടെ എല്ലാവരുടെയും വീട്ടിൽ പ്രായമുള്ള അപ്പനും അമ്മ എല്ലാവരും ഉണ്ട്. അവർക്കുള്ള ഡിസീസ്, അവർക്ക് കൊടുക്കേണ്ട കൗൺസിലിങ്ങെങ്കിലും അവരുടെ ഡിസീസിനെ പറ്റിയെങ്കിലും, ഞാനിപ്പോൾ സിറോസിസ് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ എന്താണ് അവരുടെ ബോഡിയിൽ നടക്കുന്നത്, അതിനെന്തൊക്കെ കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്, അതിനെന്തൊക്കെ കോംപ്ലിക്കേഷൻസ് ആണ് വരുന്നത്, ആ കോംപ്ലിക്കേഷൻസ് വരുന്ന കാരണം ഉണ്ടാകുന്ന എന്തൊക്കെ രീതിയിൽ മാനേജ് ചെയ്യണം, എത്ര നാൾ കൂടുമ്പോൾ മോണിറ്റർ ചെയ്യണം, ഒരുപാട് കാര്യങ്ങളുണ്ട് ഒരു ഡിസീസിനെ പറ്റി പഠിക്കും. നിങ്ങളുടെ വീടുകളിൽ നിന്ന് തുടങ്ങുക. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിൽ പോയി പാടാണെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ വീടുകളിൽ തുടങ്ങുക. That will start making a difference. So diabetic ആയിട്ടുള്ളൊരു പിന്നെ നെഫ്രോപ്പതി, റെറ്റിനോപ്പതി, to identify. I think this is something that I tell all my interns. So I think ഇത് വെച്ചിട്ട് കുറച്ച് you will be able to normal മനസ്സിലാവും, abnormal മനസ്സിലാവില്ല. So start with the normal, progressively go up. Okay.
Hello ma'am, my name is Amir.
Hi.
നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിൽ ഇൻഫ്രാസ്ട്രക്ചേഴ്സ് ഒക്കെ വലുതായിട്ടിരിക്കുക മെഡിക്കൽ ഫീൽഡിൽ, പക്ഷേ എന്നിട്ട് പേഷ്യൻസിൻ്റെ എണ്ണം കൂടുന്നതല്ലാതെ കുറയുന്നതായിട്ട് കാണാറില്ല.
നമ്മുടെ ലൈഫ് സ്റ്റൈൽ മാറിയിട്ടുണ്ടോ? പേരെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞേ?
ആമിർ.
ആമിർ സാധാരണ കഴിക്കുന്ന സാധനങ്ങൾ എന്തൊക്കെയാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞേ? എനിക്ക് ബർഗറും യു എസിൽ നിങ്ങൾ ആലോചിച്ച് നോക്കിയേ, യു എസ് പേഷ്യൻസിന്റെ കള്ളു കുടിച്ചിട്ടാണോ? അല്ല, ബിക്കോസ് ഓഫ് ഡയബറ്റീസ്, ബിക്കോസ് ഓഫ് ഡിസ്ലിപ്പിഡീമിയ. സോ മോസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ദിസ് ഡിസീസസ് എന്താ 95% of the patients who are undergoing dialysis is because of diabetes. So these are all lifestyle diseases in start ചെയ്താണ് all these problems are happening. So as and when technology improves or as and when നമ്മളുടെ വെൽത്ത് കൂടുന്നു അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമ്മുടെ ഓവറോൾ കംഫർട്ട് കൂടുന്ന സമയത്ത് നമ്മുടെ ലൈഫ് സ്റ്റൈൽ ചേഞ്ചസ് വി ടെൻ ടു ബി വെരി നോൺ ഹെൽത്തി. സോ അതുകൊണ്ടാണ്, അല്ലാതെ നമുക്ക് ഇൻഫ്രാസ്ട്രക്ചേഴ്സ് ഉണ്ടായിട്ട് പ്രിവെൻറ്റ് ചെയ്യാത്തതല്ല. എത്ര പേര് ഈ കൂട്ടത്തിൽ ഓടാൻ പോകുന്നവരുണ്ട്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എക്സസൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നവരുണ്ട്. ഓക്കെ, സോ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ റയർ സ്പീഷിയെ പിടിച്ചോ? അല്ല, സീരിയസ്ലി ഞാൻ ചോദിക്കുക, ചുമ്മാ പോയി നോക്കുന്നല്ല, അങ്ങനെയല്ല. പോയി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ സാധാരണ കൊച്ചു പിള്ളേർ വരെ, കാരണം എന്നാ നമ്മൾ കഴിക്കുന്നതിലും കൂടുതൽ നമുക്ക് വേണ്ട കഴിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. വി ഡോണ്ട് ഹാവ് ഓൾ ദീസ് ഗുഡ് ഹാബിറ്റ്സ്. സോ ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് മോർ ഡിസീസസ്, നോട്ട് ബിക്കോസ് നമ്മൾ അഡ്വാൻസ്ഡ് ആവാത്തതുകൊണ്ടല്ല.
താങ്ക് യു.
പിന്നെ വേറൊരു കാര്യം, ഇപ്പം അഡ്വാൻസ് ഡയഗ്നോസ്റ്റിക്സ് ബെറ്റർ ആയതുകൊണ്ട് പെട്ടെന്ന് ഐഡൻറ്റിഫൈ ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്, പണ്ട് ഐഡൻറ്റിഫൈ ചെയ്യാത്ത കാര്യങ്ങൾ. സോ ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ഓൾസോ contributing towards the number of this thing. I think time ആയി തോന്നുന്നു.
Any other questions? സ്പീഡ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് ആർക്കെങ്കിലും ചോദിക്കാനുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ പ്രിപ്പയർ ആയി നിൽക്കണേ.
കോളേജ് ഓഫ് ഫാർമസി. എനിക്ക് ചോദിക്കാനുള്ളത്, എല്ലാവരും ഫാമിലിയിലെ പേടിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ഇയറാണ്. അപ്പം മെഡിസിൻ കെമിസ്ട്രി ഒക്കെ പഠിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നപ്പോൾ എൻ്റെ കൂട്ടുകാരന്മാർ അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും ചോദിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആണ്, എന്തിനാടാ നമ്മൾ ഇതൊക്കെ പഠിക്കുന്നത്?
ഐ ഡിസഗ്രി, വെരി വെൽ ഡിസഗ്രി.
ഒരു യൂസും ഇല്ലാതെ എന്തിനാ നമ്മളിത് പഠിക്കുന്നത്? അപ്പം എനിക്ക് മാനോട് ചോദിക്കാനുള്ളത്, അണ്ടർ ദ കെ ഓക്കെ ആണോ, അതോ ഫാർമക്കോതെറാപ്പി?
അങ്ങനെ ഒരിക്കലും നമ്മൾ നോക്കില്ല. ഇപ്പം ഞാൻ അങ്ങനെ ചോദിക്കുവാണെങ്കിൽ, സി ദ വൺ ബെസ്റ്റ് എക്സാമ്പിൾ ദാറ്റ് ഐ ക്യാൻ ടെൽ യു ഇസ്, ഫോർ മീ ഡോക്ടേഴ്സ് ഡോണ്ട് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ മീ ഇറ്റ്സ് ബിക്കോസ് ഐ ആം വിത്ത് ഫാർമക്കോകൈനറ്റിക്സ്. ഐ ടെൽ ഫാർമക്കോകൈനറ്റിക്സ്, അവർ ബബ്ബ അടിക്കും, കാരണം അവർക്ക് തിരിച്ച് പറയാനൊന്നുമില്ല, ബിക്കോസ് ദേ ഡോണ്ട് നോ ദ ഫാർമക്കോകൈനറ്റിക്സ്. സോ ദേ ആക്ച്വലി കോൺട്രിബ്യൂട്ട്. അപ്പം വെൻ ഐ ടെൽ ദം മിറോപ്പിൻ ടൈം ഡിപ്പെൻഡൻറ്റ് ആൻറ്റിബയോട്ടിക് ഇങ്ങനെ കൊടുത്തില്ലേ പറ്റൂ, സോ യു കാൻ ഗിവ് ഇറ്റ് Q12 you have to give it Q6. Nobody will question me. So അങ്ങനത്തെ കുറേ സാധനങ്ങൾ മാറ്റേണ്ട.
Ma'am, myself Sharon Esteris. I'm from Pharmaceutical College. എപ്പോഴേന്നാണ് വരുന്നത്. മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്നുണ്ട് പേഷ്യൻസിന് അതെന്തൊരു അഫക്റ്റ് ആവും മനസ്സിലാവും. പക്ഷേ കേരളത്തിലെ ഹോസ്പിറ്റൽസിലും ഇന്നും പേഷ്യൻ്റ് കൗൺസിലിംഗ് ഇഫക്റ്റീവ്. നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ ഗവൺമെൻറ് കോളേജ് എടുക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ഒട്ടും അതിനുള്ള ഒരു ഇതില്ല. അപ്പം ഇതിന് എങ്ങനെ ഇതിൽ മാറ്റം വരാം, എന്തൊക്കെ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും?
നമുക്കൊരിക്കലും നമുക്ക് അവിടെ ചെന്നിട്ട് ഞാൻ ഇന്നത് ചെയ്യാം, നിങ്ങൾ എനിക്ക് എനിക്ക് ഇത്രയും പൈസ തന്ന് നിങ്ങളെ എംപ്ലോയ് ചെയ്യാം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ആരും നമ്മളെ വിശ്വസിക്കില്ല. Without payment, I always tell my students, never go for the payment. ഒരു നല്ല സെൻറ്ററിൽ പോകുന്നതാണ് മോർ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് ദാൻ ഗെറ്റിംഗ് എ ഹൈ പേയ്മെൻറ്റ്. ഇപ്പം നല്ല CMCയിൽ 15,000 ഉള്ളെങ്കിലും ഐ ടെൽ ദം ജോളി വെൽ യു ദ കേസസ് യു ഗെറ്റ് ടു സീ അല്ലേ. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ വോളണ്ടറിലി യു ട്രൈ ആൻഡ് മേക്ക് എ ഡിഫറൻസ്. ലെറ്റ് ദ പേഷ്യൻസ് ടോക്ക് ഫോർ യു, ദെൻ ദേ വിൽ എംപ്ലോയ് യു. അങ്ങനെ ചേഞ്ച് കൊണ്ടുവരാൻ പറ്റൂ. നമ്മുടെ വാല്യൂ എന്താ കാണിച്ചു കൊടുക്കാതെ എനിക്ക് വാല്യൂ ഉണ്ട് എന്നെ എടുക്കെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ആരും ചെയ്യത്തില്ല. സോ ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് സംതിങ്. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത്, നിങ്ങൾ പഠിക്കുന്ന സമയം ആക്കാനുണ്ട്. ഓക്കെ, കുറച്ചും കൂടെ എളുപ്പമാവും. വൺസ് ഹാവ് ബീൻ ക്രിയേറ്റഡ്, ഇറ്റ്സ് ഈസി ഫോർ അതേഴ്സ് ടു ഫോളോ. അപ്പോൾ അതുപോലെ നമ്മളെ കൊണ്ട് പറ്റുന്നത് ബി എ പാത്ത് ബ്രേക്കർ. പുതിയതായിട്ട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ ചെയ്ത് ഒരു ഹോസ്പിറ്റൽ ചെയ്ത് കാണിച്ചു കൊടുക്കുക. They will employ you.
Thank you.
മാം, ഞാൻ ട്രിവാൻഡ്രം മെഡിക്കൽ കോളേജിൽ ഫാർമസി പ്രാക്ടീസ് സ്റ്റുഡൻ്റ് ആണ്. അപ്പം ഞങ്ങൾക്കാണെങ്കിൽ ആകെ ട്രെയിനിങ് ടൈം, അതായത് വാർഡ് റൗണ്ട്സിൻ്റെ ടൈം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ 1.5 മാത്രമേ കിട്ടുള്ളൂ വർഷത്തിൽ. അപ്പം ആക്ച്വലി ഈ പേഷ്യൻ്റ് കെയറിങ്, കൗൺസിലിംഗ്, ഇങ്ങനത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങളൊന്നും ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒട്ടും അറിയത്തില്ല. അപ്പം ഞങ്ങളുടെ സീനിയേഴ്സ് ആണെങ്കിലും കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് പോയിട്ട് ക്ലിനിക്കൽ ആൾക്കാരാണ്. അപ്പോൾ കയറിയിട്ടുള്ളവർക്ക് പറഞ്ഞത് അവർക്ക് അവിടെ നിന്നിട്ടും ജോബായിട്ട് എന്ത് ചെയ്യണമെന്ന് അറിയില്ല. ആക്ച്വലി ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ആ ഒരു സിലബസിൽ ആക്ച്വലി ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു സംഭവമേ നമുക്ക് തരുന്നില്ല, ഭയങ്കര റെയറാണ്. പിന്നെ റിസർച്ച് ആൻഡ് ഡെവലപ്മെൻറ്റ് ആ ഒരു രീതിയിൽ കിട്ടുന്നില്ല വേണ്ടിയിട്ട്
ഞാൻ വീട്ടിൽ പോകുന്ന സമയത്താണെന്നറിയാമോ, രാത്രി 9:10 മണിക്കാണ് ഞാൻ വീട്ടിൽ കയറി ചെല്ലുന്നത് ചില ദിവസങ്ങളല്ല മിക്ക ദിവസങ്ങളും. സോ നമുക്ക് കിട്ടാത്ത ടൈം, നിങ്ങൾ ഈ 1.5 മാസം എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ടൈം, ദാറ്റ് ഷെഡ്യൂൾഡ് ടൈം 4:30 വരെ 5 വരെ, ബാക്കിയുള്ള ടൈം യൂട്ടിലൈസ് ചെയ്ത് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞല്ലോ സ്കിൽസ് അറ്റൈൻ ചെയ്യുന്നതാണ്.
വീക്കിൽ ഓരോ ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റ് ആയിരിക്കും. അപ്പോൾ അവിടെ ഡോക്ടേഴ്സ് ആണെങ്കിലും ഞങ്ങൾ ഒന്നും വേണ്ടിയില്ല. അവിടെ ഒരു ക്ലിനിക്കൽ ഫാർമസിസ്റ്റോ അങ്ങനത്തെ നമ്മുടെ ഗവൺമെന്റ്
എന്നോട് പറഞ്ഞു നീ എന്താന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ചെയ്തോ, എനിക്കറിയത്തില്ല.
പിന്നെ ഞങ്ങൾ അങ്ങോട്ട് നിന്നിട്ട് പറയും സാർ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇതൊക്കെ പഠിക്കണം. അപ്പൊ എന്തെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ വന്ന് പറയും. ഞങ്ങൾ സ്വന്തം എന്തെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ കണ്ടുപിടിച്ചിട്ട് പേഷ്യൻസിനോട് പറയും ഇതൊക്കെയാണ് നിങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്. ഞങ്ങൾ മീഡിയത്തില്ല.
കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഇനിഷ്യേറ്റീവ് എടുത്ത് ചെയ്ത് തുടങ്ങി കാണിച്ചു കൊടുത്താൽ അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് ഞാൻ 40 കിലോ സർജറിയിൽ അത് പറഞ്ഞു വരാൻ തുടങ്ങിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഫോർ റെഫറൻസ് ക്യാൻ യു സീ ദിസ് പേഷ്യൻറ്റ്, ഇതാണ് 40 കിലോ ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ എത്ര നമ്മൾ സാധാരണ പേഷ്യൻ്റ് എത്ര കൊടുക്കുന്നത്? 70 കിലോ പേഷ്യൻ്റാണ്. 240 പേഷ്യൻ്റ് എത്ര കൊടുക്കണം? ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത് വൺസ് യു മേക്ക് എ മാർക്ക് അത് ടൈം എടുക്കുമായിരിക്കും. കാരണം നമുക്ക് ഉള്ള ഡെഫിസിറ്റ് കാരണം, നമുക്ക് എന്താ ചെയ്യേണ്ടതെന്നുള്ള സ്കിൽസ് കുറവ് കാരണം അത് ഏതെങ്കിലും ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് കാണിച്ചു കൊടുക്കുക. സ്ലോലി സി ഇറ്റ്സ് നോട്ട് 2 or so 7 വർഷത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്. അതുപോലെ ഒരു കാര്യം ഐഡന്റിഫൈ ചെയ്ത് കൊടുക്കുക. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത് കം ക്യാൻ
ഇല്ല ഒന്നും കാണാനും അവിടെ ഞങ്ങൾ
ഞാൻ ആട്ടോന്ന് പറഞ്ഞില്ലായിരുന്നു എന്തിനാ മെഡിസിനിന്ന് വാട്ട് ഹി ടോൾഡ് മീ. നീ ഉള്ളപ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് അവരത് മുമ്പ് നമ്മൾ എന്തെങ്കിലും വേറിട്ട് പറയുമോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അവരെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ എന്നുള്ള പേടി കാരണം കോൺഫിഡൻ്റ് ആയിട്ട് ചെയ്താൽ മതി.
Anything else?
So I would like to call upon to hand over appreciation to Dr. Bobby George. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to call on Mrs. Manjusha PP, Assistant Professor, College of Pharmaceutical Science, Alappuzha. What time? John. We'll have to go for lunch, and after the lunch,
Hope everyone is settled. The thing is, what we have done is some recommendations that you can give to the government of Kerala for the betterment of your sector, നിങ്ങളുടെ ഒരു knowledge economy sector, pharmacy sector നാത്ത്, what all contributions or what all changes you as young professionals expect the government to make. Okay? അങ്ങനെയുള്ള ഒരു minimum 3 recommendations regarding your sector or regarding farm DK, clinic, നേരത്തെ ആരോ പറഞ്ഞു clinical pharmacist എന്നുള്ളൊരു designation ഗവൺമെൻറ്റിനകത്ത് ഇല്ല. So what can be done? Like that, നിങ്ങളുടെ career development-നാവാം or for the knowledge economy, Kerala knowledge economy in the development-ന്, as young professionals, what do you prefer? What are the recommendations that you have to give forward? Each team can give 3 recommendations and you have to discuss it with your teams. You can take the help of your faculty coordinators. A minimum of 2 faculty coordinators can join each group, and 1 team member has to put down it in the paper that is given. Okay? Very neatly so that it can be well documented. Okay? വായിച്ചാൽ നല്ലോണം മനസ്സിലാവണ പോലെ എഴുതി തരണം so that we can document it. We can document it and submit it to the relevant authorities. And if your recommendations are good enough to be implemented or which can be considered for implementation, there will be an action taken. Okay? So, put yourself, എന്താ പറയുക, നല്ലോണം effort ഇട്ടിട്ട് give the recommendation, not just for the sake of putting it. Okay? Any doubts? Any doubts? No. So, your time starts now. Now it's sharp 2:30. We'll finish it at 2:50. And we have to join at the main venue by 3 o'clock. So you'll have a 10 minutes break in case if we want to give a presentation or if we need some buffer time. I'm keeping it as 20 minutes. We'll complete it by 2:50. Okay? So you can start. Thank you. Dear students, it's almost time. എല്ലാവരും എഴുതി തീർന്നു എന്ന് വിചാരിക്കണോ? 2 മിനിറ്റ്. ഇപ്പം 2:10 ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് 2:45 എല്ലാവരും ഇവിടെ എത്തിയത്. സോ നമുക്ക് അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് സമയം കിട്ടാത്തത്. ബട്ട് സ്റ്റിൽ നമ്മുടെ മെയിൻ ഇവൻറ്റ് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യും. സോ ഇവിടുന്ന് ഇറങ്ങിയാൽ ഇഫ് യു നീഡ് ടു ഗോ ടു റെസ്റ്റ് റൂം ഓർ സംതിങ് പോവുക, പെട്ടെന്ന് മെയിൻ ഹാളിൽ പോയിട്ട് അസംബിൾ ചെയ്യുക. 3 o'clock ഷാർപ്പ് അവിടുത്തെ സെഷൻ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യും. ഒരു ഡിലേ ഉണ്ടാവില്ല അവിടെ. ഓക്കെ, സോ ദോസ് ഹു ഹാവ് കംപ്ലീറ്റഡ് യുവർ ഡിസ്കഷൻസ് ആൻഡ് പുട്ട് ഡൗൺ ദ, please give it to me. You have both the speakers available at the venue. If you have any doubts or anything, you can ask them. But make sure you guys reach the main venue. Okay? You have 10 more minutes. Thank you.